Okay, on to this week's Street Talk, and another Monday to Wednesday episode this week. I still think I'm quite enjoying it, because I was
It
talking...
feels like cinematic.
I don't know whether I'm
Feels like
getting
an
that.
event.
What I'm getting is, at the end of a Monday episode, and I'm thinking, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. I get to find out the next day. And if that's really good and I want to find out what's happening next, then I get to find out the next day as well.
And then it all becomes too much and it's time for a break.
Well, I think it's after the Wednesday episode, it's like, okay, I've resigned myself. I've just had a nice big dollop of juicy Coronation Street goodness. Now I've just got to wait for a little bit, and then it's all going to be jam-packed. I could almost get used to this. It's playing...
Dangerous.
No, it's going all... screwing up the podcast recording schedule, and we've had another week without a bonus podcast. But
sorry.
No, I'm not saying it's your fault. You are recovering, and it's been your deadline and everything.
I apologise for everybody. I do apologise.
You don't need to apologise. Everyone's been lovely.
I am playing up and I'm having fights with you and stuff, but genuinely cannot do too much at the moment.
No. It's like, all I'm saying is, that part of it has been a bit of a pain, but I'm actually really, really enjoying the way that the schedule is at the moment. Yes, the 5 days, whatever it is, 4 days in between is a bit of a slog to wait, but no, I'm all for it. Well, Gemma, I'll tell you what, we have got 5 stories for you this week, and number 1 is all over at the Rovers.
Over at the Rovers?
All over at the Rovers. It's all going pear-shaped, and I don't know what they're going to do to get out of this one. Then we've got the wedding storyline, or funeral/wedding. This is what I got for the wedding story title at the moment. It's not great. Happily Ever After. Yeah. Well, but then I was just thinking, I came up with that one yesterday, and then when I was doing a bit of tidying a minute ago, I thought maybe that's a bit unfair on Billy, so maybe we could also call it Happily Ever After. So Happily Ever After, Happily Ever After. Choose your groom.
You don't
call it what you want.
Happily Ever After, because it sounds like you're going to be poorly ever after.
Well, he is going to be poorly ever after.
But you don't want to get better.
Very true. We then have a return of the Showing Privates Ryan story and the Aadi and Courtney storyline. I got a good storyline title for this week. Have you seen this?
Why are you trying to hide it from me?
You know why? Because I want to build up to the revelation.
Right.
So, I had a revelation of my own yesterday when I realised that the shipping name for Aadi and Courtney should clearly be Advance, because he's Aadi and she's Courtney Vance. Yeah. So if that is the case, then this week's story is definitely Advance Payment. Yeah, I got a genuine giggle there.
I don't think that you would call it Advance.
Advance Payment. There is such thing as an advance payment.
No. Yeah, I know there is, Michael.
What?
No, I'm just saying I don't think that you can pronounce those words that way.
Advance. I pronounce
Aadi,
anything however I like make a
imagine...
terrible storyline title. Thank you very much. You've known me for long enough. Right, then we have got some of the Cassie come home storyline, which I wasn't particularly excited about this week, but it was only a C story.
There, wasn't it?
Gemma, you've been very passionate about this Rovers story, and all the Stephen stuff is here as well. So would you like to take do the honours and do this story?
Yes, I would do, actually. This is like the major story, this is.
Yeah.
This is right. So the issue with this story is that it does feel a bit like... Maybe this is too much of a deep cut here. When you have an anime
yes,
series,
it is.
And there's a movie that comes out, and nothing can really happen in the movie, because by the time the film finishes, all has to go back to normal, so that the action in the actual television show can continue, and you don't actually have to have watched the film. You could just skip the film, but they also want some money for doing something in the cinema.
I see what you mean. The stakes have been raised somewhat high, haven't they? I mean, I was actually properly enjoying watching this and seeing everybody out on Friday, getting kicked out in the rain, very atmospheric, and think, I don't know how they're going to get out of this.
Yeah.
But in the back of my head thinking, but they surely will.
Well, it feels like it's a question of what's going to happen to return this to the complete status quo.
Yeah. Or will there be some changes?
Let's
do the synopsis of the story first, because I'm sure we've got plenty of ideas and theories and wants and desires and everything.
It just feels like it's it just doesn't
I can only invest
like
so
peril.
much because I'm not I'm not feeling well.
But
I am feeling some peril.
Ambitious they're being with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, on Monday, Jenny's asking Stephen where he was when she woke up because he wasn't there, and she says
he was poking the canal, wasn't he?
He was at work, she says, and she believes him because she's still caught up in grief about Leo. She don't tell you what she forgot about him by the end of the week.
Yeah.
He's trying to comfort her, and she's saying, I can't get hold of Teddy. His phone's just beeping. I don't know where he is.
The person you are trying to dial is dead.
He says, look, you need to concentrate on positive things like our relationship. We've got our whole lives in front of us. This was also full of like famous last words, wasn't it? This plot. Glenda is it was last week that Tim and Steve had their incredible, hilarious duel where they changed each other's ringtones.
And Steve turned Tim's phone Turkish, didn't he? Look, he's only just learnt to read English,
Oh,
Steve.
no.
Come on, turning it. That's
a bit rude.
That's cruel.
So, Glenda says to Tim, I know somewhere on Tile Street you can go and get your screen fixed and stuff because he's dropped it as well. It's all going wrong for Tim. Good, I say. I think at one point Stephen gives a look at this, and I was really expecting a development whereby...
This is one of my biggest disappointments of the week, that the big cliffhanger last week with Stephen by the canal, Tim over or watching and spying on him, his Birdie song ringtone going off, Stephen going, oh my gosh, I've been caught. Nothing really happened. There was very, very little progress after that, was there, for this week? There's only so long that left until Big Super Soap Week, and I was hoping it'd ramp up more. Of course, the Rovers stuff is very, very important as well. But Tim, what are you doing, man? You've just spied your mortal enemy acting incredibly shady down by a dodgy canal, and you're doing nothing about it. When Stephen's got his back up, Tim's like relentless and like, I'm going to get you, I'm going to find out what you've done, you're going to murder my mum, I bet you've murdered Leo and Teddy. But this week he's like, nah, I'm going to give you a head start.
I've got other things to worry about. He's a very simple man. He's only got a few things in his head at once.
That did get to me, and I'm thinking when it does come back, like how long does it take for this phone to be fixed? Surely that's an in and out job. It doesn't take more than 24 hours to set somebody's phone back to England and check the phone. Just check the screen and get it fixed.
Silly ringtone. So what?
Well, no, it might do. I literally think that the phone shop are just fixing his screen and turning it back to English.
I just really don't care about this at all.
But I care about it because I want Tim to be on the case for Stephen.
I know.
This has been set up and teased for us, and now it's like, nah, don't worry about that.
I know, but I don't. Yeah.
Well, I thought you might.
I have got to be in my bonnet about it, Michael, but.
He doesn't. Tim. Time is a ticking.
Can I just tell you the problem is it just seems such a boring strand of the story to hinge a pivotal plot point around somebody's ringtone, and they've taken it to a vape shop.
Oh, absolutely. That's fairly dull, and I'm still hurting a little bit from the massive coincidence of Tim happening to be there when Stephen was by the canal. Still don't get on with that whatsoever. But if they're going to try and say, hey, look everybody, Tim's on the case, and then they go a whole week saying, nah, he's not that bothered really.
Just screw it then. If you're going to be like that, I'm not interested then.
Tim, do you realise that the Coronation Street fan event with Todd Boyce, watch an episode, it's 2 weeks time, Tim. You've got to get a move on. Come on, man. Come on. I suppose now with the Rovers closed, he's not going to have anything else better to take up his time, so he's going to have a clear head for the next few weeks.
Ed and Ronnie are in the pub, and Ed's having a wobble because, there was a dead body. It all feels so distant, even though it's Monday, because of the Rovers stuff. Mm. Anyway, Ronnie says that it's scary, but we need to hold our nerve. This development can still be the making of us. Yeah.
We bunged all the Ed and Ronnie stuff in here, even though there wasn't much this week.
Glenda finds Jenny zoned out in the back room later, and she wants to know if she's heard from Teddy. And then Glenda's like proper true crime fan, isn't she? She makes a couple of comments.
She's some good conspiracy theories this week.
I love her. She says, do you reckon Teddy done it? Do you reckon Teddy did Leo in? And Jenny's like, no, that can't be true, and I'm worried about him. Then we've got whoosh. What's that mean?
That was the bit where there was the whoosh of there's the transition of the camera moving to one way and then coming out the other way, and unnecessary. But this is Stephen doing a bit of investigating of his own, isn't it? Asking Sean and Izzy, hey, what's your ringtone? Is he literally going to be doing this to everybody in Weatherfield now, asking them what their ringtone is, just in the hope that they'll find the person who's got the birdie song?
But the question is, why does he think it's anyone he knows?
Exactly. That's the stupid thing. I didn't think that...
Doesn't make any sense. And also, what was he doing that's so incriminating? He was poking the canal with a stick. Who hasn't done that? So, Underworld, he said...
I certainly know that Ken Barlow's been doing a bit of poking over at the canal in his time, if you know what I mean.
What, he's the pusher?
No, he's been poking Martha Fraser.
How dare you? I'm just enjoying soup. Stephen's listening to the gossip about Leo and everyone's saying it's a serial killer. And Stephen's like, no, it's not a serial killer. Technically, Stephen, 3 kills, you are.
Who was it that said that? Was that this week where somebody said, you got to be a serial killer, you got to have 3 victims? And Stephen's doing the adding in his head and go, oh no, maybe I am. Does Leo really count though? That was kind of an accident.
Yes, it does count. So he's ringtones. Izzy and Michael are eliminated from his inquiries. Izzy's got something about cheese.
Yeah, in the latest attempt to make Izzy an interesting character is to give her a kooky ringtone.
You just know Izzy's had this ringtone on her phone with this supposed quirky sound, right, for months. And she's been dying for somebody to ring her or text her so that she can show off how fun and quirky she is. Nobody cares, nobody's interested, and then finally her debut, she gets to show it off.
Oh, I bet Fergus rings her.
You're crapping all over it, Michael. It's funny. She's cool and unusual.
I like Izzy. I've got a lot of affection for Izzy. Because we've had a bit of a break from her. And I always appreciate an Izzy appearance.
On the same day, Ronnie tells Ed that he's heard the police are done at the dig site, so they should get stuck in to digging it up. And Ronnie says, are you going to be okay with this business account? Because I think he's planning to go off, isn't he, with his girl. What's her face?
His girl, Debbie.
And he says, I've got to leave you in charge. Are you going to be all right with this business account? And it's like,
oh, dare you? Of course, I'll be fine.
I'm the one that put the money in it. So Jenny goes to the station and asks Craig, it's not the tram station, the police station. She says to Craig, have you had any joy with Teddy? And he says, no.
Well remembered, Gemma. You're on fire with this tonight.
I'm really sorry. I'm so ill. Jenny says that he's just disappeared. What's going on? He doesn't even know his son's dead. Or does he? Craig says, we're doing all we can. Platitudes, Craig.
But it is me in charge of the investigation, so there's only so much that you can really
Jenny,
expect.
I'm doing everything I can, but I've run out of crayons.
Why have they got the work experience boy leading a murder investigation? That's what I want to know. I
know. They're like, sorry, everyone.
Get McKinnon on the case. Get Abney. Swain's involved. That's true.
Swain's there. She's gonna sort it out, I reckon. She gave Stephen a look, didn't she?
She did later on, yeah.
In the pub, Stephen overhears Tim telling Sally his phone's being fixed in the vape shop, and so when Stephen comes into the pub, this is backwards. Anyway, Stephen's in the pub.
Massive pause while Gemma tries to make sense of my notes. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Stephen is in the pub, and several things happen. He finds out that Tim's phone is in the vape shop being repaired, which is, I thought we were going to get a ninja vape shop scene where he tries to break in, but it doesn't make sense because why would he think it was Tim or care that much? Nothing incriminating happened.
No, there's no reason at the moment for Stephen to suspect that it was Tim who was spying on him.
Or even that's any point in worrying about it. So, also, a man comes into the pub and he's asking for Jenny.
Yeah, he's like, he wants Jenny Connor. He asked Glenda, are you Jenny Connor? And she's like, I can be. Glenda was great
on fire
this week.
The whole team was great.
Yeah.
They were just there going, aren't you going to miss us? Aren't we fantastic? Aren't we the best Rovers? Gemma's been saying we're the best Rovers team.
Glenda's had some brilliant lines, though. She's so good.
Jenny comes back to the Rovers and Glenda tells her about this guy. He's a Waterford's manager and he wants to see all the staff. And Jenny tells her that she's been round to Teddy's house and she's got a scoop There's letters, loads of letters. He hasn't been there in months. She looked through the letterbox and all his post is just piling up. And Glenda's like on the case because she obviously listens to like My Favourite Murder and Last Podcast on the Left. She knows all about her murder stuff. She says, I'm going to help you find Teddy. We're going on a mission. But then she doesn't actually do anything, which is what I do.
Just say you will.
I'll pledge my support. Craig's around the pub later and Jenny says, I want to formally report Teddy missing. When she catches up with Stephen later in the evening, he's interested in hearing about this because he knows, Michael.
He knows where he is.
He's killed him. And he says to her, it sounds like she's getting a bit obsessed over this and that she needs to calm down. And Jenny says, no way, I'm going to be on the police day and night until they find where Teddy is.
So this is the beginning of Stephen's plan to disappear to Thailand, isn't it? He's obviously had some 5-star recommendations from Gail after her last trip there, and seems like the perfect getaway location.
Well, he originally had voggled best countries to disappear to that Coronation Street has got the budget to film one location in. And
I don't think that leaves you with
it was
many
Wales.
Yeah, Wales, maybe Scotland. I don't think Corrie has ever actually filmed in Scotland, have they? So yeah, it's Wales or nothing if you want an abroad trip on Coronation Street.
He's like, oh, maybe I could go and be in Doctor Who. No, that's silly.
I love best country. He's really on the dark web as he voggled the dark web to get this.
Yeah.
Probably probably the same website you can get like best places to hide your dead body or to dispose of the corpse that you seem to have acquired. He's like, a canal, that's where what are the chances of that? Oh, and here's top murder weapons, a hole punch. Well, that's just the greatest coincidence. Yeah, so I know, he's going off to Thailand apparently. I just want him to come back with a little braid in his hair like Gail did.
Me too.
That reminds me, I can't remember whether I told you this. The Chris Anstey on Twitter had to put a tweet out earlier saying, if Stephen is going to go to Thailand, please can he kill Kate Connor while he's there as well? And I'm fully in support of this.
Don't know.
I wonder whether we can, set up a fund for Stephen to go murdering Kate Connor over there. She thinks she's got away, but she didn't even come back for Johnny's funeral, did she? So she doesn't deserve to live. That's all
Selfish
I can
cow.
say. Yeah. So Tuesday then, you're right. He's boggling away on places to go away to.
He's like,
on a little trip.
Carla, can I have some more leave, please? I'm worried about Jenny and because of this Leo and Teddy stuff. You know how they've both been brutally murdered.
Carla's like, but you're so indispensable here at Underworld, Stephen. However will I survive without you?
And then she says, what do you mean both brutally murdered? And he's like, just the rumour mill. I didn't say that. So, meanwhile...
That doesn't happen.
The Rovers staff are wondering what this Mr. Waterford is going to do.
I don't think he's called Mr.
No, I know he
Waterford, but
isn't.
I haven't got his name written down anywhere, so from
We'll
this
call
point
him
onwards,
what
he's
should
Mr.
we call him?
Waterford.
Mr. Capitalist.
I've got a few names for him, I'll tell you that. He's a very rude man.
The manifestation of the evils of capitalism.
Yeah.
That's too long, so we call him Mr. Waterford. So, meanwhile, Jenny's still chasing Teddy leads on the phone. That sounds a lot more whimsical than it actually is. Stephen tries to encourage her to give it a rest, and this is when he suggests going on holiday to Thailand, just as Glenda says that the Waterford man is here. So the Waterford man comes and says, right, everybody, we're doing a rebrand. Jenny, your original idea, Rose with a Z, we love it.
I'd forgotten about
We're
that.
going with that.
Yeah, found some old paperwork, Jenny.
Yeah, we've got the neon signs. We're going to have swiveled, like those American diner, red leather.
This isn't the first time that Rovers has been threatened with a rebrand. I think it was when Natalie was in charge and she sold it. She sold it to like the Boozy Newt chain, and there was going to be, and I'm sure there was a time it was going to be a diner where they're going to knock through into Ken's. I can't remember.
Well, I remember Bet and Alec, wasn't it? Going to that American theme.
Oh yeah, they did.
Place.
They went to the casino, didn't they? Bet and Alec did.
Was it a casino or was it just a pub? I thought it was just a random pub.
I thought
it was all
a
like
casino.
wagon wheels and stuffed bears.
Yes, it was. I mean, this is further than they've ever got, yet I feel it's not very likely at all that we're going to get to see any of it, unfortunately. I could kind of like it for a little change. Or maybe you talk about theories about how they're going to get away from it later, but yeah, I don't think the rebrand's going to happen. No. But they don't know they're in a soap, so they're very scared.
Jenny and Sean aren't happy, but this guy says, nope, decision's been made, going to get started. In fact, today's your last day of trading. All your contracts have been terminated. I probably should have led with that.
Is this? I don't know. I don't know anything about business. Is this? Does things happen this quickly? Can you just walk in and say you're fired, and then that's it?
Well, unfortunately, yes. It's not to do with business.
For
it's
the
to do
drama.
with being exploited by disgusting companies that don't care about people. But if you're on a 0 hours contract, unfortunately, you're shafted.
Well, Jenny's not. Somebody says, was it Adam who said, because he happened to be there as well, saying, well, you're clearly not on a 0 hour contract, Jenny, you got rights for unfair dismissal here.
Well,
to appeal for unfair dismissal.
Everyone else doesn't get any redundancy pay or notice. And Jenny says, well, you can't do this, you've got to give it to us in writing. So he just gives them a letter, literally produces... Well, no, he just opens his mouth and goes... and prints it out. Children, that's what a printer used to sound like.
Dot matrix.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember watching it? Did you ever do little pictures?
I don't know.
Did you ever have the printer paper that you had the perforated...
I know what you mean.
Sides.
I think that
we used to have that. I used to have it in my house.
Those were the days, eh?
Yeah, you could print as much. You could print anything as long as you wanted because it was just in a big concertina of paper.
Yeah.
You kids don't know what freedom we used to have.
Fancy pants A4 sheets, honestly.
And the sky's the limit. Right, so he says, look, sorry, this is the way it is. Jenny says, no, you can't do this because I asked when you lot took over whether this would happen, and the person who signed me up said that this wouldn't happen. And he says, no, well, it is.
Oh, yeah, he said that because that was one of the reps or something. So, bless you.
Sorry, I'm really sorry.
Gemma is suffering for her art today. Yeah, he says, well, tough. You're out on your ear, miss. You can reapply for your job. You
for your job.
You can't reapply. I didn't get this. I don't know whether they told us and I wasn't paying attention.
We're not there yet.
But Jenny,
we're not there yet.
We're pretty much there. Go on, you fill in some gaps.
Well, he says you better all start packing, and Jenny's like, oh, I don't think so. Meanwhile, the pub's open to the punters, and like you said, Adam's listening in and saying, I don't think this is going to happen. And this man says, well, reapply for your jobs, but I'm not looking. I'm only looking for a deputy manager. So I don't need a manager.
Who's supposed to be the manager? Did they tell us? Is it just the fact
Johnny
that...
Vegas?
Oh, that's Johnny. No, I just thought that there isn't actually going to be a manager. Jenny's still going to be top dog, but she can't make the same decisions as a manager had made.
There's like a regional manager.
Yeah,
and she's assistant to the regional manager.
Exactly that. Although I would absolutely be down for having some celebrity get flown in just for a couple of weeks. You know, bring back Lillian Spencer. What could possibly go wrong with that?
Yeah, what could go wrong with it?
What?
I'm giving you a look because we've recorded this.
Oh, you're giving it away.
We've recorded this now. This is the second time, and that's the second joke of mine that you've stolen.
Have I?
Yes.
What was the other one?
You know what it was.
I actually don't. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have recorded this.
Michael keeps nicking the jokes I made the first time around.
We did a bit of recording and then it turned out that the microphone wasn't picking any of it up. But we're
Who's
back
in
on
charge
now.
Of that, eh?
It's very slick and smooth. You can see all the behind the scenes gossip.
You're in so much trouble today. Can I actually see whether this is recording now?
This is definitely recording now. Look, the little line's wiggling away. Who comes in next?
Anyway, like I said, yeah, Lillian Spencer. That was my idea.
That was Gemma's idea to have Lillian Spencer come back.
What a funny joke, everybody.
I kind of sport it now, haven't I?
Great. So anyway, I don't even know where I am.
Swain swans into the pub next.
Love her. She's on the case. She says, we've confirmed Teddy was never in Canada. I don't know what you were talking about, Stephen. Tell me more about this phone call you said you had. And Stephen's like, oh, that's so strange because I could hear a Mountie in the distance and the sound of a moose going...
Come to think of it, maybe he was just in Tim Hortons.
Could have been. He's like, help me, Stephen. What's a Timbit?
Tell you what, that's what I want at the end of this story. Is Stephen's last victim is going to be Tim, and he can chop him into bits, can't he? And then he can have his very own Canadian Timbits.
And then you can call it Timbits.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all coming together. So, yeah, she wants to know all about his phone conversation, and he says, look, well, Teddy said he was in Canada. It's not my fault if he wasn't in Canada. Also, he said it came up from an unknown number, And Swain's like,
He's just like making it up as he goes along. Nobody seems to notice except now they do, because Swain's on the case, isn't she? She gave him a look as she was leaving. She's like, interesting. I'm not actually going to arrest you or take you in for questioning at the moment. I'm going to let you carry on just to see what other larks you get up to.
She gives him a look. She says, "Are you going to steal my joke again? Can I do this joke? This is my joke."
You say the joke that you said earlier.
I already said this
in
joke.
the first recording.
You're not
just
stealing
make
this
it
one.
sound natural. You kind of...
She looks at him and says, "Do you know what? If there is a serial killer, it would really be a shame if he wasn't caught or he killed Craig Tinker."
I do. I liked
really
your joke when you
hope-
made it 10 minutes ago, and I like it just as much now.
I
Craig
really
Tinker.
hope that everyone's safe. All the main characters are safe, but especially Craig. I don't know what I would do if my protege was brutally murdered. In fact, I might be too sad to investigate it. I might just call the whole thing off.
What's Swain got against Craig? Is he just
like-
eating all the donuts in the staff room?
He's always
or something?
standing around, breathing through his mouth, looking at me, going, "What's next? What do we have to do next, boss?" Like that.
I'm gonna be you one day, boss. Yeah, mate. Yeah, maybe.
I really admire your ponytail.
I like the idea of Swain being the what do you call it? The contractor that sends Stephen off on his assassination job.
Contractor. Oh yeah.
The contract killer, isn't he?
I
maybe.
reckon Craig's idea of like training on the job is playing Guess Who in the break room.
Yeah.
How to identify a witness.
He's probably like, when it's wet play at school and you get to get the games out at break time.
Yeah.
It's like they're in the police station at the beginning of the day. "Oh, Sarge, it's raining outside. Can we get the games out, please?"
How about this? 999, Craig Tinker, what's your emergency? Okay, number 1. Does he have glasses? Oh, no, is it a man? That's the first question. Is it a man?
Right, we have reached the point where we got to before when we were
No
recording,
more
and even
jokes.
some of those jokes there were absolutely completely original. We didn't even do the Guess Who's bit in the first one.
I can come up with new ones all the
Never know
time.
what is original, what isn't. Anyway, so Swain's disappeared off. She's got Stephen's number. What happens next?
Teddy hasn't got one.
No, he is not.
Adam's back in and he says, "Oh no, we got to this bit too."
Oh, yeah,
'cause
we
he
did
says,
record this bit earlier, actually,
Waterford
as well, didn't
is
we?
pretty watertight.
Yeah,
And
I
Glenda's got 4 weeks. I said that before as well. Glenda's got, this is only funny to us, I think. Glenda's
That's probably very annoying to everybody. Stop
Yeah.
telling us how the sausage is made, thank you.
Right, so Glenda says Glenda's got 4 weeks because she's obviously got a contract, for renting the place. But
Not the same sort of contract that Swain's got with
No.
Stephen.
and so Jenny decides they're going to round up the locals and drink the pub dry.
Hooray.
And who's in the vanguard?
Obviously, it's Ken and Rita, because Coronation Street are like, "Look, guys, viewers at home, you may think that we're not closing the Rovers when we say it's the Rovers' final night, but tell you what, we're deadly serious
Bloody
about
doing
this.
it.
And to prove that this is absolutely 100% the final night that the Rovers is ever going to trade, the last pint of beer sold, we're getting out Ken and Rita.
Yep.
We're bringing out the big guns. We're wheeling out Babs and Bill
Yep.
to show you that this is 100% definitely the final night.
We need this for the
The
clip
Rovers
show.
return, and Barbara Knox is like, "You don't have to tell me. Free booze, you say?" No, it's only in the script, Bab. It's shandy. It's oh well.
Anyway, the bar's covered in drinks and bottles, and Ken, even though it's the final night, he only wants half a
In
pint.
moderation, yeah.
But because it is the final night, as a treat, he's going to have it in a pint glass. And I loved Asha this week.
Oh, Asha was good this
She
week.
was good in this episode. She and Steve are calculating how many pints that he has had in the Rovers over the years. She's adding up how many times he was there, how many pints he has every time he's there, how many years he's been doing it. She comes up with 17,160 pints. And he was really... I
I'm
liked
proud of that.
Simon Gregson's performance of this. He was like quietly smug, wasn't he? He's
Yeah.
like, that's not bad, actually. It's not bad.
I found it an interesting choice, bless you again. I found it an interesting choice to have out actually using an old school calculator, and I'm not
Calculator.
convinced that Tanisha Gorey has ever picked up one of these before in her life, with it being young and trendy and everything. But it worked for me.
Well.
Calculator, glasses, yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Ken
yeah.
and Rita have had a bit of a reminisce about the pub over the years.
Oh yeah, Deirdre
if
gets
you-
a name drop, doesn't she? That's
if-
how you know it's another important night.
If you wanted a reminisce yourself, we have a YouTube video, The Changing Sets of the Rovers Return, which now we're going to have to update probably if they change it.
Yes.
And you can see back all the different ways that the Rovers used to look.
Yeah. It used to be black and white and everything.
Yeah, so it's probably
Totally
a due change. Ken's
maybe they're going to
concerned-
change it back to black and white. Maybe that's Waterford's plan.
Maybe
they're going to go for a whole retro vibe.
Maybe they're going to roll in the new manager and it's bloody Annie Walker back from the grave.
Oh, they could bring back Willie Walker. He's still alive, isn't he? His old Ken Farrington.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about...
Annie Walker
Jack
is not
no.
still alive, no.
No. So Ken's concerned about how Jenny must be taking it. And Rita goes in the back to see her and she's packing away her stuff. She's got a box with a plant in it. And she's got a picture of her and Johnny. She's having a moment. And Rita's telling her, travel as much as you can. I wish I'd gone to Thailand. I've heard about these men over there.
Furthest Rita's been since the Cartmel to visit Mavis, isn't it? So, yeah, maybe she can live vicariously through Jenny.
Rita strikes me as the sort of person who wouldn't go anywhere they didn't know how to boil a cup of tea. Which
sensible decision.
Which was always my nan's complaint when she went to Thailand. She said she liked the uniforms.
Oh.
That was the only thing she said. The kids have good school uniforms in Thailand, apparently. Right, so Jenny says, Jenny's like, oh, well, you know, Stephen said we should go to Thailand, but incidentally, can I ask you, do you reckon it's possible that Teddy murdered Leo? She seems to think this is what definitely happened now. She's like, that's such a shame, Rita. I can't half pick a bad bloke, can I? But you know, not my Stephen.
No.
He's obviously on the straight and narrow.
He's as straight as a die, is Stephen.
Straight as a die?
Is that the phrase? No, what's the phrase?
Straight as a die? Okay.
Well, got straight edges.
Right.
Mixing the metaphors again here.
Jenny emerges from the back and she's very happy to see everybody enjoy themselves, and she tells Stephen she's up to go to Thailand, and she says she might not even ever come back. And he's like, maybe you won't.
He's not going to kill
Not
Jenny.
in a sinister way, no. But I thought I'd just add a bit of flavour there. On Wednesday, everybody's been drunk, haven't they? And this is the next day.
Yeah.
Somehow they haven't all got terrible hangovers.
Daisy did. She looked pretty rough when she rolled into the Rovers later in the episode.
But Jenny and Stephen are fine. They're moving their stuff into Rita's flat, and she says,
Yes.
"Don't go to Thailand," which is exactly what I would say if a couple moved into my flat.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I'd say. It's like, do
Off
you
you
not
pop,
fancy a
then.
holiday to
Off you
Thailand
go.
for an extended period of time?
Have some cash. Yeah, we haven't seen Rita's flat for ages, so I did
No.
appreciate them unpacking that one.
Yeah. Jenny goes back to the Rovers and she's having a bit of a silent reminisce.
This is how you know it's not real, everybody. They didn't do the echoing voices as Jenny walked around the pub. Big giveaway.
There's bottles and glasses everywhere. She opens the curtains and Glenda's there.
Oh yeah, that
reclined
was good.
out in a booth. I thought that was brilliant. She thought she was alone, but no, Glenda's passed
Ever
out.
so slightly reminded me of that Bet and Raquel scene.
Very reminiscent of it. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
especially like she had the straw stuck to her hair, didn't she?
Yeah,
And,
she did. She heaves herself up and she's like, "Oh, that was a night, wasn't it?" Daisy comes in. Oh my God, my head. I know they don't sound like this. That's part of the joke. And she's got coffee, and Glenda's saying, "Are you going to reapply for this job, everybody?" And Daisy's like, "No way."
Yeah,
and
Jenny
says,
says they wouldn't want
They
me,
wouldn't want
didn't
me.
she? Yeah.
But one by one, they all turn, don't they, and try to get their jobs
some
back.
of them.
Well, Jenny leaves the Rovers.
It's that Gemma. She's the traitor that starts the ball rolling.
Everybody tidies up, and then they all leave. They all stand opposite, standing in front of the salon, looking over to make a nice picture for the Coronation Street history books of the Rovers team. So you've got...
Who was it? Jenny, Daisy.
I just paused because you were going to interrupt me. Go on.
No, I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Jenny, Daisy, Gemma, Sean. Have we forgotten anyone? Glenda, sorry, how can we forget? They all do the photo shoot with the Waterford's burn in hell as the thing that makes them smile.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they take a photo of everything. The builders come, they take the keys, they start boarding everything up, and Jenny tells them that they're off to. She's going to Thailand for 2 weeks. And she's like, don't worry, I'm going to be back in time for Friday the 13th for Stephen's big finale. They're like, oh, that's good. They're very jealous. Well, Sean's a bit jealous. It's all right for some, I guess. She wanders off. Glenda catches Gemma emailing the Waterfords to try and get... She's trying to apply for the deputy manager's role.
She's got ideas above her
She's very
station, has
ambitious.
Jenna. Now she's been a PA.
She's like, I've got the
Newton
stationery.
and Ridley. Yeah,
I've got the pen.
I only got a couple of pages into my diary.
I can just take those pages out and start again.
Or maybe she can go back to a pink one. Maybe Waterfords are a bit more, a bit less straight laced than Newton and Ridley, and they'll happily let her have a fluffy pink pen.
Why not? They head over to the cafe. Who does?
They're
not impressed with Gemma.
Gang.
Jenny comes in and overhears that she's applying, and she sort of bobs off again. And then Gemma finds Jenny in Rita's flat and apologises for trying to get this job. And Jenny says, look, it's fine. You got as much job as anybody else. If I was her, I'd say, yeah, apply. You're not going to get it. You can't even spell your own name. I'm not worried about it. Gemma says, I don't even know if I want a job. I'm not really a people person. I thought this was a bit weird.
I thought that was off for Gemma because she does like people, and although she clearly doesn't have the skills to be a deputy manager of the pub, I think that
this felt a bit like somebody
she likes working with the public.
Either they gave it was somebody else's lines that she was reading, or the writer just wanted to put in a funny joke about I hate people, which is not really that original. But really, if I was writing Gemma in this scene, I would have had to say, I'm a proper people person, but I just can't do numbers.
Yeah.
Or words, or anything like business. That would have been way more in keeping.
I think so.
It really jangled me when she said that she's not a people person and she doesn't like working in...
Yeah, there were other ways that she could have moved on to convincing Jenny to go for
it. Jenny should go for it, and then maybe she could become the manager and then rehire everybody. So Jenny decides to take her up on that idea. She meets up with the Waterfords guy at the Chariot Square Hotel.
Yeah, Waterfords don't have a head office, clearly.
No, and she's trying to smooth with this guy, and she says she wants to apply for a job. And he's not very impressed. I wouldn't be impressed either. I would say you don't generally call a meeting to apply for a job. You just put your CV in. But I'm not impressed with you because you basically trashed the pub last night and gave away all the stock. And she's like, oh
yeah.
I didn't...
just a joke.
I didn't know that you would notice that I stole all of your alcohol. and so this guy says, neither you nor any members of your staff will ever be employed by Waterfords ever again. And if I see you on my premises, I will call the police.
Yeah, this is...
Got her card marked, didn't she?
Yeah, we said earlier about raising the stakes, and this particular bit as well is
what do you think's going to happen? Oh, right, we'll get to it.
Nearly there.
Back at Rita's, Jenny's getting very enamoured with the idea of just going to Thailand and never coming back. And Stevens tells her that she needs to get away for her own sanity, and Jenny says, yeah, let's get out of here. And that's the end.
Right, so...
What's going to happen? Is Waterford's just going to be like, oh, yeah, we discovered that we're actually evil, and so we're donating... I mean, I can't even... What... The whole thing implodes. There's another pandemic.
See, so far,
they give up. There's a zombie apocalypse, and
Waterford seems like they know what they're doing. Or are they just, are they all mouth and no trousers? I don't know. But the only way that I can think that things can go back to how it was is if they have a total collapse of the company.
Yeah.
And decides to start selling off the pubs that they'd already bought. And Jenny's like, well, I'll have the Rovers back then, thank you very much.
It just seems very anticlimactic, and like you've pointed out to me, it doesn't solve the initial issue that they had, which of course was made up, so you can just get rid of it, but it's not very satisfying, that the Rovers not making any money.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the main problem after all of this. Even if they do go back to the way things were, that's still not made anything better. Because the whole thing that started this whole story a couple of months ago was that Rover's not making any money. So I can't figure out what's going to happen. In a way, I'm really enjoying this storyline because A, it's kind of very true to life. B, it's a Rovers story, which is what I've been asking for ages. C, it's kind of quite exciting and you don't know what's going to happen next. But I am just not particularly enjoying the fact that I can't get the idea out of my head that it's just going to go back to the way it was.
Should we be worried? This is my question.
I mean, the other thing is, obviously, behind the scenes, what's it called? Corrie tours have been going on for the past few months. If there was going to be a rebrand of the Rovers and they were taking those signs down, people would report from that. And I know there has been times in the past where Coronation Street the Door has said, don't tell anybody about this thing that you've seen. Like, I think they did it with the Christmas market, or whatever they did, the Peace Festival earlier on this year. But they've clearly not rebranded it. And you can stick up all the boards that you like in the coming soon new Waterford's pub, but I just can't get behind the idea or invest in the fact that it's going to change. But then I'm thinking maybe it shouldn't change. There are lots of things on the street that absolutely should change. We've said that the factory should go. If this is the end of the factory and we're boarding it up, I'd think, oh, maybe it is. Or even, the end of Deb's or the end of Audrey's. Literally, I think probably any other business on the street, if they'd been doing this storyline with it, I might have a slight fear, or not fear, or, that it was actually going to come to fruition. But because it's the Rovers, that's the one thing that they can't change. So I hope that they do somehow try to make a change. The Mr. Waterford, or whatever his name was, said that they were getting the contractors in to start the renovation straight away, weren't they? So that to me means that something has got to happen pretty darn quick on maybe Monday or Wednesday's episode to change them around. Unless...
Change what around? What's them?
To change them around to decide, actually, we're not going to renovate the Rovers after all. Or is this an opportunity to renovate the Rovers? Is it going to get a facelift? It's been, 10 years now since the Rovers fire? So this particular look of the Rovers, it's not particularly getting stale. I think the Rovers at the moment is my favourite look of it ever, inside and out. But, it's definitely had a number of facelifts over the year. Maybe it's time for another one. But then in the back of my head, I'm also thinking, but hang on a minute. The Coronation Street Experience inside tour bit has got a replica of the Rovers. So they're not going to be wanting to change the Rovers on screen just so that when you can go and visit, when you come on the set tour, it looks different, Yeah. There's just, I can't see what's going to change.
They've only just paid to have that done.
Yeah.
I can't imagine them change. But again, I also don't want a world where Coronation Street plots are beholden to Continuum laying out a certain look.
Absolutely,
like that doesn't make any sense. But equally, if I was Continuum and Coronation Street changes the Rovers like 3 months after I just unveil the Rovers, I'd be a bit annoyed.
Yeah. So
it's not like they wouldn't know this is going to happen.
I really, really, really hope that they've got something up their sleeves here, that they're gonna pull the rug out.
They
from
really
underneath
have to do something surprising and interesting with this, because it does feel a bit like the Magic Fairy will come and wave a wand, and then Waterfords will just go, "Oh no, we've
changed our minds now.
We looked at the spreadsheet and we did it wrong."
There have been some surprises in Coronation Street in the last 5 years, and I am definitely thinking more on the Kate Oates kind of line, where you didn't know something was coming and it spiraled off a huge story. So, for example, Aiden's suicide came out of nowhere-ish. That's made lots of little plot threads go in different ways. You had Ken falling down the stairs. Didn't know that was going to happen. That gave loads of storyline opportunity for the next few months. Even Ken's stroke, that wasn't previewed in advance. That's what brought back Daniel. That's what brought back Peter as well, I think. So it is within Corrie's... it is, within the realms of possibility that we could be, mere weeks away from getting a big press release go out saying, look at this huge changes we're bringing about to the programme now. You didn't think it was going to happen, did you? I'd adore it if that was the case. But I don't know, there's just something that's making me think it's not going to. The closest that I can think of that there's been like that under Ian McLeod's regime was at the end of the 10,000th episode when Ken says, I'm going to move up. I'm not going to live on the street anymore. I'm going to go to Stillwaters. That hadn't been previewed in the press beforehand. That was a big surprise.
But it didn't happen.
Changed the face of the street forever. But yeah, what happened? He went off with Claudia for a couple of months, then came back, and it was like nothing had ever happened. So, I don't know. I just can't fully invest in this, unfortunately. Even though I will admit that they're doing the way they're doing it feels quite real to me, and I'm kind of really racking my brains as to how they can get out of this in an interesting way, and then I'm kind of left, maybe it's not going to be that interesting. I don't know.
Well, they're doing a good job of making me really appreciate the Rovers team. But I want to just point out, I have been saying recently that that's one of the best teams they've had for years.
I think so. I don't think there's a weak member among them.
I don't feel like I'm being taught a lesson here about you never know what you got till it's gone, because I've been saying how good it is.
Even Sean, and we've put up a few things on our social media over the last few days about isn't the Rovers team great at the moment, and some people have been saying like, oh, not Sean. You've got whatever right you want. Of course you can say you don't like Sean, but actually I have always claimed, not claimed, but I've always insisted that I do really enjoy the character of Sean. I think he's very much belongs in the Rovers. I think the balance between all these cast members and the characters is just brilliant. It's just unfortunately that we don't get to see very much of them together. I mean, like, how does Sean and Daisy interact with each other? I don't really know. How does Glenda and Gemma get on? I don't know either. We never really see them together either, but the individual components are there to make a really, really brilliant Rovers team, and I hope that they all come back together and things in that way do go back to the way that they were. The thing that I'm most worried about, if Coronation Street say, well, we will make one change with this, I'm terrified that one change is going to be that Jenny is not in charge anymore. That's the main change that I think has a very real possibility of happening.
They better not do, because she's brilliant.
But don't you agree that's...
Yeah, I do.
Absolutely
dangerous.
Not beyond the realms of possibility there. That's one of the few changes.
Stupid thing to do.
I think that would be a ridiculous change. I think that the pub does need Jenny at the moment. Jenny definitely needs the pub. I would be very scared that if they kicked Jenny out the Rovers return, they wouldn't know what to do with her.
Yeah, and also I don't think they've got anyone else who's as good.
No, but, maybe, like you said, that maybe the big gotcha moment is that they do bring back an old character. Do they bring back...
I've just thought of a good one.
What?
Michelle.
Oh, I better not
For
bloody
like a couple of weeks,
Michelle.
bring Michelle back.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, it would make sense because of Ryan.
It would make perfect sense to have Michelle
that
back
would be
at the
really,
moment,
really
I'm
good.
I'm not having that. Well, there's not going to be that Michelle.
You know I don't like Michelle.
There's not going to be Michelle Collins because she's somewhat tied up in Waterford at the moment. I don't think Beverly Callard's going to be coming back to Coronation Street, and it's going to have to be Toyah. Bring back Toyah into the Rovers. I don't know. I'm very much enjoying this story, and I think that they did it pretty well. I was a bit peeved that the residents just kind of let it happen.
They didn't seem that worried about it. But then I guess they've been placated to think that it's all going to be fine and it'll just open and it'll just be a bit different. I mean, how mad would you be about that?
I think in real life, if your pub was being rebranded, you'd be like, oh yeah, whatever, it's still a pub. But the whole community... This just goes to show how much the idea of the community in Coronation Street has been diluted over the year and eroded, exactly.
Well, yeah,
go back 20 years, they'd be, Emily Bishop would be chaining herself to the doors to stop them rebranding the Rovers. But what do the guys do now? And they're like, oh yeah, let's go in, let's have some free booze. Oh well, it's not going to make any difference. Half of the main characters couldn't even be bothered to turn up. It was lovely to have a full-ish pub on Monday. There were more extras than regulars than I would have liked. Yet we had Kirk, brilliant. We had Tim. No, actually, was Tim there? I'm not even sure whether he was. Steve was there. I think you could probably count on two hands the number of regular characters that actually turned up for this. Kevin was there for a bit, was he? But where were any of the Platts? Where was Sally? There were a lot more people that I think, if they wanted to make this out to be, a momentous event, get the whole of the old garden, really pack it to the rafters with proper regular characters. But then, get them to protest or something.
And the trouble is, we've had too many protest stories recently, they kind of get a bit stale. But I do want to point out, the very strong heritage and culture of, industrial action and strikes and standing together and working class solidarity that Coronation Street really should be representing and reflecting as, the North premiere soap, the representation of Northern culture, like the biggest representation in British culture, right? Why aren't they striking and kicking up a fuss? Isn't that what the North is kind of built on, isn't it? This solidarity. This is what I said before about the working class roots of Coronation Street are kind of disappearing. But equally, what does working class mean these days? It's really difficult to know. It's really hard. So, is it a reflection of the fact that there is a kind of lack of class consciousness, or does it reflect the fact that they're not actually working class at all? Because most of the people are business owners on the street these days. Of course, they're not going to support the workers. They want them to just shut up and butter balms and be quiet.
I did like how they had the whole "let's stick it to the man and drink the pub dry." Rather than just, please Waterfords walk all over us, they kind of stuck two fingers up and said, well, you're not having any of our stock. Great. But yeah, the community just kind of letting it happen. If I was Jenny, I think I'd feel a little bit betrayed. She's there with her mates, with Glenda and Daisy and that, but ultimately she's just left on her own to wander sadly away with her umbrella over to Rita's house. But where was everybody else? Back in the day, Bet wouldn't have done that. People have been fighting for her. If Annie Walker had been kicked out the Rovers, for heaven's sake, Newton and Ridley were trying to evict Annie Walker for years after Jack Walker died because they thought that she wouldn't be able to manage the pub on her own. But everybody stood behind her, and they got Fred moved in as a pot man.
Yes,
that really niggled me, but I guess it just didn't fit with the pace of change that they wanted to happen here.
Well, another thing that's interesting about this is presumably Waterfords have been in charge of the Rovers for a couple of weeks now because Jenny signed it over at some point.
Yeah.
But there was no transition. There wasn't even a single scene of Jenny going, "Oh, they sent through the rotors and it's all weird," or "Oh, now everyone's got to sign up to the workplace pension," or there's literally no admin or kind of indication at all.
It was like with it's like
there
what
was
I was
maybe
saying.
a couple of lines, but
they had a TV for one episode, didn't they?
Yeah, I just didn't. It felt like we jumped really quick from I'm signing over the Rovers to by then you're all sacked.
Yeah, the pacing of some of this year's stories has been a little bit off. It was like I was saying last week with Paul and Shelley and how, she's apparently the best friend he ever had, but really he's only known her for about 4 weeks. I'd have preferred there, and I know time is running short on that story, I'd have preferred to have got to know them as friends better before
time's running short. The woman's dead. Okay, done.
Yeah, and there is a Super Soap Week looming imminently. Presumably Stephen. I still don't know. I honestly 100% do not know if 2 weeks' time is Stephen's downfall. But is the Rovers going to tie in with it?
I've got my theory about that. You know what I said? I think sometimes. I mean, the thing is about it is I don't want to ruin it for everybody. By guessing correctly that Stephen is going to kill Tim, chop his head off, stick it on a pike, parade it down.
Tim bits, I know.
Parade it down the middle of the road, screaming, "I'm glad I killed him. I did it for you, Gemma. This is all for you. Let's run away to Canada together." Now I've said it now. We'll just delete this before we publish it. But yeah, I've got my own little theories. I wonder what everyone else thinks. Is he going to be gone by the middle of October? Don't know.
If he is,
it feels rushed. If so,
yeah. But I'd be quite excited if he does
too long.
Bump somebody else off because
he needs to kill again.
A lot of the other serial killers, there was a bit more of a gap between final kill and their own demise.
But let's try to take some people out with him.
Yeah, I know. But
I need him to kill again. I'm really mad.
If he doesn't kill again, I'll be very, very disappointed. Yeah. I'm still kind of sticking with
but
Sarah Louise.
Unfortunately, I think he's got some people in his sights that are too high stakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, But that's what it needs. That's what we've said all along. This story needs a high stakes victim and not just somebody like Rufus. So we'll have to wait and see.
Sorry,
we don't have to wait
Rufus.
too long. Don't have to wait too long. Right. Let's move on. Let's do the Paul story.
Anyway, I've enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that was great. That was very good this week. So it's the funeral on Monday, and you said last week in the podcast that you weren't really feeling the need for a Shelley funeral. Well, you got one, didn't you? And it was in the church and everything. Paul's a bit guilty beforehand, feeling guilty that he's making this funeral all about him, and Billy's like, "No, you're doing a brilliant job. Don't worry. You're gonna give
Billy's
Shelley
like,
a cracking send off. It's gonna be fine."
Everybody makes everything. I always make the funerals about me. What's the problem?
So we get introduced, and I still baffled about the point of this, but we get introduced to Shelley's brother Kieran outside the Undertaker's, don't we?
Well, he might be involved in uncovering the fraud schemes.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm still not convinced that we're going to hear any more about that. Now it's kind of Shelley's part of the story seems to have been put in a box, and now it's all about
And
Billy.
buried.
Exactly, and the story seems to be more about Paul and Billy's relationship. But yeah, this Kieran guy who clearly doesn't care about Shelley, just wants this funeral over straight away. Just unnecessary drama is what I'm going to say
There's
about
no
him
such thing on
for now.
Coronation Street.
So he turns up. He seems like he's a bit of a tit, and then they go along to the church. We get the lovely gospel choir, which Shelley wanted. Did you enjoy them?
They definitely got their money's worth for that lot, didn't they?
They did.
Like,
yeah,
right,
we
you're
got
doing 4 songs.
Yeah, a good few songs out.
I don't know how many songs they did, but they made them sing loads of songs, walk up and down, stand around. Did they clap? I don't remember.
I don't know whether you clap a gospel choir in a church. I don't think that's the done
Excuse
thing.
me, this is Church of England.
It's like
Put your hands in your pockets.
clapping after a prayer. It's not
You don't
suitable. It's a really good prayer, Billy. Well done. So Paul is asked to come up and do his reading, and this is where Kieran kicks off and says, "Oh, why is this bloke who I've never even met before and has only known my sister for a month been the one that's been chosen to do a reading? What's
valid
going on
question.
there?" It is a very valid question.
I mean, if you wanted to know, you should have come to the planning meetings.
Exactly. He's clearly
You
not.
can't not be involved in planning it and then complain about how it's going. That's
Paul-
why I'm always complaining about Corrie, because I hope they're going to invite us in to organise it for them.
Paul gets snarky back at Kieran, and there's a bit of a tussle. And there's only so much that you can do in Paul's physical state, but he does end up elbowing Billy in the nose,
Oh,
or was
what
it
an
in the lip? I
accident.
can't remember. In the middle of all this fracas.
Yeah,
And
well,
then
you're kind of burying it here. They have a fight in the church.
they do, but it's not the worst thing that's
It's
gone
like
on
a
in that church, is it, Billy?
A grieving sibling fighting a terminally ill man in the middle of a funeral. Shelley would love it. Don't you think? She'd be grinning. She'd be like, yeah, go on, punch him.
Quite possible. I just thought it was very, very unnecessary if that's all we're getting of Kieran. You're right, maybe he will come and be involved in, some kind of
the police
inheritance or the
questioned
police scenes.
Bernie about this, and
Yeah.
she managed to seem to distract them away from thinking she was involved.
Yeah,
But I don't think that's the end of it.
I really, really
Would
don't
it be
know.
kind of silly if it was?
Well, I think that it might be silly. I really do.
Really?
Yeah.
No, never.
So it just felt like he was put in for advert
I don't get,
break
but
drama.
why?
Why what?
Yeah, because there was nothing really that came of it, was it?
No.
Nobody was like sad or, Kieran bogs off. Paul
Billy's
does the
got a cut
reading
lip.
and then starts crying.
Yeah.
And, nobody's in trouble or the police don't come or...
No.
Kieran
The
just-
rest of the funeral pretty much goes on as planned once Billy has been able to convince Paul to dry his eyes and get up on that pulpit, mate, you've got a reading to do. Got another vestry scene, which is lovely. But Paul's like, oh, I've let Shelley down. And Billy's like, no, you haven't. Funeral's a chance to remember the dead, but it's really for the living. I know, I'm a funeral expert, thank you very
I've
much.
been to 3.
And so he convinces Paul to come back into the nave and give it another go. So he gets up, he does his reading. It's all very moving stuff.
I thought, can I just give a shout out to Peter Ash here, because I find this is one of the hardest tests of an actor's skill, is to do a reading for a service, because it's really, really tempting, and this happens all the time, where the actor will just like do a very, very bad reading it out like they have never seen it before to make it obvious they're reading from a piece of paper. But he like read like very naturally, and he didn't. And the other thing that they do is they'll just perform. You know, they'll go, oh, well, you know, obviously this is in the script, they're not making this up. Oh, I'll just do it from the heart, and then they do something really moving and natural, which also wouldn't work. But Paul did a really good, Peter Ash did a really good...
I thought it was excellent.
He read it exactly the way Paul would have read it.
Yeah.
He did his best. Like, you can tell Paul was trying really hard to read this nicely for his friend. And
well, he starts talking about how brilliant Shelley was,
Yeah.
how she brightened up his day after she came into his life, and he was fighting back the tears. I thought he did
what a revelation
absolutely
this has
brilliant,
been for how
brilliant
talented
performance
Peter Ash is.
Yeah, I loved it. He did such a good job with that. But then I did think that the bit where the sun came in through the stained glass window at the end was a tad cheesy, I'm not going to lie.
Well, you've got to take that with God.
I just, it felt a little bit CG. Although, it did remind me of my own dear mum's funeral.
So you can't complain because this actually happened in
This
real
actually
life.
did happen at my mum's funeral, everybody. I can't remember where. Was it at the very end of it? I think it was at the end. We'd all finished. We'd all done our bits. I'd done my reading.
I hadn't done anything.
Gemma had just sat around and
Yeah.
enjoyed the show. And then, and this is at Coventry Cathedral. And
The nation's most unpleasant
Gemma doesn't like
cathedral.
Coventry Cathedral.
No.
I've got a very dear place in my heart. And at the very end of it, the light just shone in, didn't it, through the
Yeah.
big window at the front,
It does have a
down
very
the aisle,
impressive
and it was kind of a bit of a
glass
it gives you chills moment.
Yeah.
So I can totally get what is going on with Paul here, but the way that it was depicted in the show,
Stop moaning.
I didn't think it was that great. But it's given him a bit of given him a Damascus moment, hasn't it? Because he's now converted into something at least. So after the funeral,
Well, as he finishes, the light shines and he turns his face towards it and sort of basks in this glow, this heavenly glow.
Monday afternoon glow. Yeah. So they go back to the pub. 3 gay dads: Paul, Billy, Todd, and Billy's telling Todd,
Tell you what, that would be a good name for a pub.
What?
The 3 gay dads.
Well, maybe
I'm going down the 3 gay dads.
Maybe once
for a
Paul
quiz.
is dead, he's not going to have a memorial garden like Seb. He's not going to
Yeah,
have a
but
Maxine bench. He's going to have his own pub, the 3 gay dads.
Yeah, 2 gay dads is just normal, isn't it?
Anyway, Billy's telling Todd, "Oh, that was really difficult service," because as it was going through, I realised that the next funeral that's going to go on is going to be Paul's, so that's a bit tough. And I tell
Well,
you,
Billy
you got
said
nothing
that.
to but you got nothing to worry about, Billy. I think Stephen Reed, possibly someone else at the hands of Stephen Reed, might be able to sneak in a little funeral before Paul needs to start thinking about his flowers and music. So don't worry about that.
Don't worry.
Back in the flat, this is when Paul talks to Billy about having had a bit of a spiritual moment at the end of the service, and he's like, "Oh, it's almost like the sun was Shelley, and she was telling me to keep my chin up, and everything's going to be all right, and maybe it will." Billy is overjoyed about this, and I get another fantastic performance, I thought, here from Peter and Dan. This is what Billy's wanted, isn't it? After all these weeks, and this
His soul's being
this
saved.
part of the story has had enough time to percolate before this revelation has come to Paul. And yeah, the joy on Billy's face, even though Paul's not saying I'm a Christian now, but the fact that he's entertaining the idea of there being some kind of higher power or life after death or something is just brilliant for Billy. I really loved this. Did you think that it was enough to make him have that change of heart? Did it work for you?
I like this because this is what did I say this last week? Or I'm sure if I hadn't said it, I was thinking that I think I did. Like, the idea of a good death, the idea of peace and acceptance in passing is incredibly powerful. And it does feel as though Coronation Street is going to do that with Paul. And I think that's the most uplifting, wonderful solution to this, what are we going to do about Paul problem that I can think of. Because it does suck. It's horrible what's happening to him. It's terrifying. But if you can watch somebody come to terms with it and accept their death, I think that's so inspiring.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what we all want for ourselves in a sense? Like to, you know, if you can't live forever, because that's what I'm gunning for right now. You know, maybe this appendix thing might make me immortal. I'm not sure. But if you are going to have to die, if the rumours are true,
don't go out scared.
Wouldn't it be lovely to go out at total peace?
Yeah.
That's just the idyllic, most
But
amazing.
Billy is happy for Paul because he knows that Paul isn't scared about, you know, going into this void of nothingness, and he's obviously very happy for himself because even though Paul's not saying, you know, I accept Jesus into my heart or anything like that, there's more than a
it's
chance.
Moved forward.
Yeah.
From where they
of
were.
him being there at the pearly gates when he gets there himself.
Aww.
So very lovely. And Bernie as well, because Tuesday there wasn't a whole lot of this story. There was just Paul trying on his wedding gear, wasn't there, with Gemma and Bernie, but you could tell just from the look on her face that she's glad that he's accepted, in a way, her outlook on life and death.
He's been very cagey about what specifically he's beginning to believe about what the future holds for his soul.
Yeah, but it's something, and that's all Bernie wanted, because she's been terrified that he's, you know, going out scared.
Yeah, Bernie's
belief
system doesn't rely on him believing in any one particular thing for it to trigger a happy afterlife like Billy's does.
But Billy's kind of got a picture in his head about what it's going to be like. Bernie, maybe not so much, but she believes in something, and now that Paul believes in something, she's at peace as well.
Well, I mean, even if you don't personally believe yourself that there's an afterlife, you'd feel happier. I think you'd feel more at peace with yourself if your beloved one did have a strong belief and thought that they were going somewhere that was worth going. Even if you can't believe it yourself, it would still be nicer for you to think that than for them to sort of be like, well, off I go to the unimaginable dark abyss of nothingness.
Yeah, exactly. Possibly the conversion, or whatever you want to call it, was a little bit too twee and quick. Would just
it's been on his mind. This is the thing. It's not come out of nowhere. It's not like he's just walking down the road and the sunbeam hit him in the face and he went, oh Jesus, oh yeah, that's right. You know, he's literally thinking about his soul. He's in a church. He's having a service for his friend. He's been talking to everybody about his soul and the afterlife, and then suddenly he gets a sign from God. It's not like he would go, I don't know, so I think I've missed the message here. What are you trying to tell me, God?
I just don't know whether like he would wake up the next day and go, oh yeah, it probably was just the sun, actually.
But he's looking for something. He wants to find
this.
He was.
He's wanted to. You're right. He's accepted Bernie putting crystals around his fridge and balancing stones on his head because he's wanted there to be something.
About trying to find the meaning of life.
What?
It's always in the last place you look.
Who'd have thought it'd be at church, eh? Okay, so Wednesday, they're going to talk to the registrar about the ceremony. Are Billy and Paul, not
the
Blue
wedding,
Merrick.
Not the funeral.
Yes, the wedding ceremony, not Blue Merrick. So already loses points for me.
I can't believe they're having a gay wedding without Blue Merrick.
I know. And it actually sounds like it is going to be at the Bistro as well. After, they mentioned it, whenever it was, a month or so ago, I was thinking, sure, it's not the Bistro. Coronation Street's first gay wedding. They're just going to have it in the same place as everybody else has their bloody weddings at the moment, honestly.
Michael, this to show that everyone's all the same.
Oh, yes, very true, actually. Very inclusive, the Bistro.
Yeah.
Paul's
Can you imagine Leanne and Nick going, not having a gay wedding at the Bistro? That's one step too far.
This Bistro has been hosting weddings for the past 10 years and we haven't had a gay one yet.
Damn, is it any coincidence? No, I've been breaking up all these gay couples. We're not having a gay wedding cake either, I'll tell you that for nothing.
I really enjoyed the scene of Paul and Billy having a bit of a dance to Oh Happy Days around the flat. Like you could tell that Peter and Dan were having quite a nice time doing a little bop, and
it was sweet.
It was very sweet. But
what I like about it is Paul seems to have this kind of childlike wonder about this concept that he seems to have just unlocked in his mind. If I was Billy, I can't, I'm ornery. I like to take offence at the drop of a hat. I'd be offended at the fact that Paul's like, all this time, Billy, I think you've been chatting absolute crap about God, but I think I get what you mean. If I was him, I'd be like, I've been talking it. Well, actually, he can't say that, can he? But Billy's basically hardly ever said the word God. If you wrote down every time Billy said the word God since he started in the show, I bet you that other people have said it more than he ever has.
He actually did a prayer on Wednesday's episode, didn't he? And I think that was literally the only time I've ever seen him do that as well. Billy's probably just kicking himself that he didn't shine a torch in through the bedroom window sooner, if that's all it took to convert Paul.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, Paul is miffed because he's now suddenly started to like church songs. Select ones anyway, and Billy said, sorry, we can't have Oh Happy Day at our ceremony because it's a secular ceremony.
Yeah, that's a rule against it.
I don't think
there's a rule. I don't think this is in different countries.
I think that's a bit sad, really.
You're not
I think
allowed
you should be able to
muddy the waters.
Yeah, clearly. Anyway,
I like this. This is a bit. I found this kind of a bit funny because 1 minute Paul's like, no, there's no such thing as a higher power. I don't believe in any of it. It's all a load of nonsense. And then he has one sunbeam in the face, and now wants to have Oh Happy Day. I think you should. It's like getting a tattoo. Think about it. This is going to be your wedding song forever.
He hasn't got much time for thinking about it.
You just suddenly decided the next day that you want Oh Happy Day, and now you're crying that you can't have it.
Yeah.
You literally, what would you have had if you had been deciding this last week? What would you have picked? You wouldn't have been Happy Day, would it?
No.
What were you going to have before? I'm sure you had some ideas.
Well, maybe we will know because they're going to have to go back to their original plan, won't they? Because they're not allowed to have a happy day. Anyway, this is when Paul walks in on Billy doing his little prayer in the lounge. And this is a really lovely... There were lots of really touching scenes in this story this week, weren't there?
It was really interesting.
Paul saying to him that when you pray, do you feel like he's actually listening? And Billy's like, oh, yeah, I do actually. Do you want to come and pray together?
I like this.
This is exactly what Billy should be doing. And although there's some bits of Billy's personality this week or attitude towards the fact that he's not getting married in a church that I'm not completely happy with, the fact that Billy's invited his life partner, to join him in a prayer, I think that was exactly what we should be seeing Vickers doing. And Paul kind of showing his naivety, I suppose, or ignorance about it by saying, I don't know what to wish for.
I thought that was so cute when he said that.
That was really cute.
And then Billy's like, you're not wishing
not Genie.
for anything.
He's not Robin Williams up there.
Robin Williams is probably up there though.
So I hope so. Billy says, look, you don't have to say anything at all that loud if you want to. You can do it in silence. And Paul gives it a go and he feels a bit stupid, says sorry. And Billy says, look, don't worry, you've got nothing to apologise for. I am so thrilled that you're giving this a chance. Don't know what this means to me. All that matters to me is that this time tomorrow, you're gonna be my husband.
That's so cool.
And Paul's like, sorry, there's not an episode tomorrow, or the day after, or the day after that, or the day
when
after that.
But
Monday, I'll be there, Billy.
If by tomorrow you mean in a week.
So
yeah, this was a lovely scene.
Really
I really
lovely.
enjoyed it. I thought it was great just to see them sharing something very intimate in personal, and actually seeing Billy doing a bit of vicaring.
I'm hoping, because the only other thing we saw this storyline was Paul getting the gang together at the end of the episode, and he's clearly got some scheme.
Well, he says
he's going to spring something lovely on Billy, isn't he?
What do you think he's going to do?
If it was me, I mean, I'm going to be very, very disappointed if it's anything other than trying to get some sort of blessing involved in it.
That's what I think it's going to be.
Billy hasn't really given any, he's not said, we need to get the bishop involved, or I don't know who blesses an archdeacon, or we're going to get the local pastor to come in.
I think it's the king.
It's going to be the king.
Imagine if King Charles turned up on Monday. Hello everyone, I've just come to give you a blessing as the head of the Church of England.
Billy should
sing a gospel song.
As the archdeacon, he should be saying, we're going to have our ceremony at the bistro, but to me, in my heart, I won't feel that we're actually married until we get a blessing at church. And it feels like, that's a really easy thing to get into the script. But they haven't. So I think Paul's that's got to be. I'll be really sad if that's not what it is.
You can have a blessing as part of a register office ceremony, but I don't know. There are loads of really complicated rules. I don't understand why you can have a blessing. I just Googled it. I don't understand why you can have a blessing at a secular ceremony, but you can't have a religious song.
Yeah. Maybe if you have a blessing, then you get one religious song allowed.
Yeah. I mean, what is the limit on what is a religious song? Because I know that we've got, Happy Day, obviously. There are loads of very religious songs. But what if somebody just wrote a song, like, if it mentions the word God, is it automatically out? Because there are loads of songs that mention God that aren't religious at all.
That's very true.
How do you define a religious song? No, All Things Bright and Beautiful. You can't have that one. Definitely out. Not having Jerusalem. Can you have God Save the King? No, because it's got God in it.
Yeah, you're not even allowed the national anthem at your own secular
What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
I think that probably Charles himself had his national anthem at his own.
Yeah, but he had it at church.
To Camilla.
Oh no, he didn't. Did he? He had a town hall.
He had a town hall. Okay, so
right.
Anyway, so I think it's got to be that he's going to get the bishop involved, because that's another actor that they've already got, and he's going to show up and do a little blessing, and maybe the gospel choir from Shelley's funeral are going to be waiting outside the bistro so that they can walk down as they sing, "Oh, happy days."
There's no law against singing outside.
Exactly. I think that would be absolutely lovely.
But can I just
if Billy doesn't say, "Oh yeah, why didn't I think of that?"
Yeah, it feels a bit silly. But can I just point out that would just be Paul granting his own wish?
Yeah, it would actually.
So I've got a surprise for Billy. Guess what? I did it anyway.
Paul should know.
You can't stop me.
Paul should know that even though Billy's saying the most important thing is that you're my husband, Paul should know that actually he wants a blessing.
Well,
of
now
some
maybe
sort.
Paul's got a different perspective on it now. He's got some kind of insight into what the spiritual belief feels like. I just find it very strange that he's been in a relationship with Billy this whole time, and it seems to have had no intellectual curiosity about the fact that he's a vicar and has this very complex belief system that he wholeheartedly and earnestly believes that Paul has got absolutely no insight into whatsoever. Like, you never had a conversation about this before. I would have many conversations about what is it you think about this? What do you think about that? The Bible says this. Is that what you think, or how does it manifest? He's got no curiosity about Billy's spiritual life until he has his own epiphany and he's about to die. What a waste of time.
Do you think that there's going to be any juxtaposition drama going on? Is it just going to be a nice ceremony, or is it going to be a somebody turns up late or
dead?
Or dead, or
Shelley can't ruin it now, can she?
I don't think they need that. I think if they're going to have their first, at last, gay wedding on Coronation Street, they just need to make it a 100% lovely day. And I really hope they are.
What was that? The Obamas had that song, didn't they? At last,
I've got no idea.
Inauguration, they sang.
Gemma, that's it. With anything else to add about that story?
I would just have a screening of Sister Act.
Lovely.
To get around it.
Right.
To get around the rules.
Ryan's story, Gemma.
Because Sister Act 2, maybe this is his idea. Sister Act 2 was full of pop songs that they repurposed as religious songs.
Yeah, well that got a shout out, didn't it, this week? Because it was a happy day.
Yeah, but just do that then. Just do what was it? What did they have?
Ain't no mountain high enough.
Yeah, just steal all those.
Ain't no river low enough.
Yeah, and nothing you can do can tear me away from my God.
That was in Sister Act 1.
Oh, well, I don't care. I'm not limiting myself.
Right, come on. We need to talk about Ryan's Willy.
Okay, right, I'm into it. On Monday,
Ryan's shooting himself up in the arse again at the beginning of Monday's episode, and Carla barges in on him again and doesn't get to see it.
She goes, "I want to go shopping, Ryan. I need to go." Tell you what, Carla's turned into such a docile little domesticated woman in this storyline, she's just been relegated into being the batty old aunt. I don't know what they've done to her. I don't like she's been far too nice. She's been far too domestic. This is Carla Connor we're talking about here. This is Carla Connor, who probably never turned her oven on once when she had a red and black flat. And now she's walking around with one of these granny shopping trolleys, filling it up with bargains, probably from the reduced aisle down the Co-op. How the mighty have fallen. He says he's not going. He's embarrassed. Anyway, no, he's not. He's trying to do his videos. He's getting frustrated because she keeps checking in on him. And he's like, I've got a girlfriend. Are you going to call her? And he says, yeah, leave me alone. But actually, he's going to just be doing a live stream. Later on, Daniel's like, I'm a teacher, but it's not a real job. Do you want to spend the afternoon with me? And she says no, she's going to meet up with Ryan. And he's okay with it. But he offers to have a pint with him to try to make him, socialise him and stuff.
I have lost all interest in this Daisy and Ryan relationship. I kind of forgot that he was even involved in it, to be honest. And
Daisy and Ryan or Daisy and Daniel?
Sorry, Daisy and Daniel. They were supposed to be getting married earlier this year, but they totally flubbed it with the acid attack was great, but after that we just went vast weeks of time without having anything to do with them, and now I don't care about them together at all. I don't need Daniel to be involved in this story.
Unfortunately, Daniel just feel incredibly superfluous.
It really, really is. It felt this week like, oh yeah, Daniel, he should be part of this, shouldn't he?
I mean, for goodness sake, Daniel and Daisy have just moved in together. Have we even seen their flat?
Nope.
Why on earth have we not seen them putting their little pot plants out and, her going, I'm going to cook us the first tea in our new place? We haven't had any of that.
Don't need domestic scenes in Coronation Street. Just need drama. Just need plot-driven stuff.
So she's pleased about it, but he's a bit miffed off. It's Daniel. So Ryan finishes this show and then the person says, oh, you that acid attack guy? Your filters stopped working. And he's like, no.
That's why, Ryan, you should wear an actual mask and not have a filter mask. They do. Yeah, how on earth did people hide their identities before filters? It's like, come on, guys.
Imagine if Zorro was just a bloke with a filter.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, I think I got away with that. Just say no. So Ryan catches... Daisy catches Ryan about to go out on a run and he's forgotten that they were even going to meet up. So she asks him about his streaming and he's getting frustrated and says, you're always checking up on me and spurring at me. It's nobody's business but mine. So when he returns from his run, Suki's there. She's from the Gazette. She's the roving reporter.
Dr. Gaddas's daughter, of course. The actress is...
Yeah, not in the show.
In real life.
And they're like, oh, you that acid attack guy? She's obviously the same person who's been paying for the videos.
Clearly.
She says, we've had an anonymous report that you are now doing adult streaming and I've written an article about it because it's so empowering.
This is a really seedy story for the Gazette. They've really sunk quite low.
It's going to go live later today, so have you got any quotes for me to add? And he says, no. And he closes the door. Carla comes home and she's banging on about wanting to spend time with him. And I think, is this when she brings out her hideous shopping basket?
I don't even remember the shopping basket. I'm sure you didn't make up the shopping basket.
Carla would not even be seen dead inside one of these shopping trolley things. So anyway, if they go over to the pub, she manages to convince Ryan to go to the pub with her. Right as Izzy is reading this article that she's just found.
Izzy was in her element this week, wasn't she? Like, I don't normally have anything to say, and now I'm getting a look at Ryan with his bits out.
I've got to see a willy, and everyone knows my ringtone is cool.
Yeah, this
is my best week. And later on, I'm going to get to booze up in the Rovers for free. What a day! What a week for Izzy.
It was Izzy and Sean in the booth together, wasn't it? And I said at the beginning of the scene, if this scene doesn't end with Sean immediately signing up for an O-vidz account, they've missed a trick there. Well, thank goodness it did, because we all know that Sean's a massive perv. So, excellent.
Well, this is the thing.
Very appropriate for his character action there.
Is it empowering and wonderful and nothing to be ashamed of, or is it just being a big old perv? You tell me.
Perv. On your neighbour.
You didn't need to say it. Yeah, I think it's... Anyway, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, Sean is just utterly shameless. Well, both her and Izzy were. Like...
I know, but I find all this very weird. Like, this whole stuff... I've never, ever, ever had a conversation with anybody about who do I fancy, or who do I think is handsome, or is this guy good looking, or, oh, let's go and watch this film because I fancy the guy in it. This is a whole alien to me. I can't.
You do recognise that is unusual,
yes.
though, isn't it?
Then what that I'm like that?
Yeah.
I guess so, but I think everyone else is weird. I think it's really odd. I don't understand.
It's weird to fancy people, Gemma says.
It's not weird to fancy people. It's weird to talk about it. Isn't it not private?
Yeah,
Can you
definitely
not keep your thoughts to yourself.
Yeah, Gemma and her friends do not have
I've
girl talks
no,
about
never.
saying, "Oh, have you seen?" No.
No, I don't care. I'm not interested in what you think about somebody's abs.
You don't sit and watch TV and go, "Whoa, he's a bit of all right, isn't he, girls? Eh?"
No, I never have. In fact, if you're really handsome, I don't like you. That's why I've got you.
That's why you married me, exactly.
Anyway, no. So how far is like going the other way into just being grim? Because I think Izzy and Sean have gone past that.
Yeah, but
border.
I don't have very high standards for either of those.
Like the idea, like, you know, on Corrie when they have the stripper comes out and all the girls are like going, we're having fun. This is brilliant. We've got a pink cowboy hat and there's Sam Kingston, the python in a mask, whatever he's called.
Python in a mask.
Let's all enjoy a wholesome fun watching a man's rippled abs or something. I think I'd rather die. But this is just kind of like an online version of that.
Yeah.
But apparently it's rude to do it to somebody's face if they've done it online secretly.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
So, he's the unmasked python. Silence breaks the silence. You've written. I don't know what that means.
No, I don't know what I mean by this note here. Anyway.
Right. So basically,
it's
all come out.
So what?
That Ryan has been stripping online, and Izzy and Sean think it's hilarious and wonderful. Everyone else is just aghast and shocked and saddened. This is the thing about this, right? Though I kind of get the feeling that if this was a storyline about, say, Daisy doing it, everyone would be saying, "Oh no, I think it's great. I think it's really empowering. I think it's good for her." That's what I say. Good for her. She wants to earn her money on that kind of thing. You know, I wouldn't do it myself, but I say I applaud her. That's fine. If it's good for her self-esteem, I think she should do it. But because it's Ryan, they're all going, "Oh, this is terrible. It's bad for your mental health."
Do you think that if it came out and it had been Daisy that had been doing it, would they have had some of the pervy guys going, "Whoa, you know, have Kevin there going, I'm going to sign up for O-vidz now"?
No, they wouldn't. It's really interesting how this is being treated in a different way than I think it would be if it was a woman who was the centre of this.
Kind of, the message here is it's perfectly fine to ogle a guy and it's kind of funny, but wouldn't it be terrible if it was a woman?
I'm surprised really that they're using characters like Izzy and Sean. If I thought this was part of what I've been saying for ages about let's make people problematic, I'd be all for it. But are we supposed to just think they're just being harmless and silly?
I think we are. I don't think we're supposed to think anything more
but
than that.
Carla's not happy about it. She says this is not good for your mental health. And he says, "I'm not taking mental health advice from you," which I think was great. Glenda's there. She's just smouldering, isn't she? She's like, "Oh, I think it's really good to be in touch with your inner animal. That's really healthy." And she's into it. Ryan storms out and Sean's like, "Right, I need my card. I'm signing up." This is, it really does feel like a massive invasion of privacy, doesn't it? That
you're going to flaunt your bits online. You got to expect this is going to happen one day, especially if you're a soap character. He was trying to hide his identity,
wasn't he? He didn't want everybody to find out that he was doing this. So he's obviously upset, but he's trying to pretend he's not. So he's back at home. Carla's letting rip into him, saying, "You're degrading yourself." And he says, "No, it's empowering." And she says, "What would your mum think?" And he says, "I'm not having this. I'm taking control. I want to feel something that isn't utter despair for once." And she says, "Well, if you're that into it, why are you hiding it? You hate it as much as I do." He says, "No, I like it. And actually, I'm glad they did it article about it, because then I'm going to get more subscribers and I'm going to get more money.
Do you think that Ryan is just telling himself this?
Yeah.
Has he actually convinced
clear.
himself that this is okay?
Yes.
Or
He doesn't want this at all.
no, he doesn't. So he doesn't want to.
No.
This is what I think as well. I think that
He's putting on a front.
we've seen enough of him kind of grimace before he takes his top off for these guys online to make us understand that he's not really doing this for any other reason than he feels like he has to for their financial gains. But yeah, he's he can't back down and say that now.
There's
So
also
he's
the
got
element
to
of,
double down on the fact that no, it's brilliant actually.
it's also the element of like being accepted and being praised.
I think that this has done wonders for his self-esteem, but I think that he is feeling more body confident and proud of himself.
No, I don't think so. I think he's feeling he's being harassed by his subscribers, isn't he? He's always been nagged at them. So the thing is, it's never good enough. It's never enough. Like, he got into this because it wasn't good enough for him that, you know, his face was healing and he had a good body. He wanted more. He wanted to feel better about himself. But now he's stuck in this cycle where he's always having to push his boundaries to give a bit more than he's comfortable with. It's never good enough. So it's not actually fulfilled the yearning that he had.
I don't think it's completely filled the hole, but I think he is feeling better about himself.
I don't think so, no.
The fact is that he's still injecting himself because he wants to keep up this change, and I think he thinks if he stops injecting himself,
hollow.
he's just going to go back to the way he was before.
No,
it's very, very hollow. But
it's a hollow pursuit of temporary relief from the idea that he's not attractive or good enough anymore. And it's being constantly reinforced, this idea that he's not good enough, by this demand that's continuing and never fulfilled. I think they're doing a good job of representing that.
Yeah, okay, fine.
I'm interested that you've got a different perspective.
No, I think he's feeling happier in himself.
I don't think so at all. I think it's completely wrong.
Well, have to agree to disagree then.
So
I'm sure, I don't think that this. I don't think that this is the path he would have wanted to go down to get there. And you're right. He is.
Every time he looks at his screen, or he gets a notification, or he gets a message, or he doesn't get a message, what's his expression?
Yeah, he's exasperated. He doesn't
Has he ever looked happy?
The way that he's trapped in here, but I think he likes the way that his body. I think he likes the way his body looks now.
Well, that's got nothing to do with stripping on the internet.
No. But
what are you saying?
I'm saying that he likes the way his body looks now. And
well, that's got nothing to do with the story. You were making it sound like you were saying that he's getting validation from his online videos. And presence.
No, I didn't mean that. At the beginning of this, the very first shot that we had to say this story is happening is him looking in the mirror and feeling a bit like, oh, I'm not as buff as I used to be. Now, at least he thinks he is, and he's not scared to show off his body like he had been before.
Okay, I've got to the bottom of it.
Exactly.
I agree with that.
Right.
So, sorry if I misunderstood you.
That's all right.
So, Daniel's not impressed with... Sorry.
Got a frog in your throat.
Yes, I do, Michael. Daniel's not impressed with Daisy later on when she tells him about Ryan and that she actually knew all about it and she didn't tell him what was going on. Then Ryan storms into the factory later and because Carla's phoned up Michelle and told her. And he's like, why did you tell my mum I strip on the internet?
Do you think the way that Ryan found out was because he saw that his mum had subscribed? Let's see what that idiot of a son has done now. Oh, bloody hell.
Do you think the phone just rang and he picked it up and she went, And it's like, oh no, she knows.
You can imagine her looking at his pictures and go, oh, just like his dad.
Is she related? She's his real mum.
Oh, wait, hang on a minute, thinking. No, she is not his real mum.
She's up there looking at the pictures going, it's not illegal. It's not illegal for me to... No law against it. Can't I? I'm a red-blooded woman. No relation.
I'm wondering whether anyone else is going to come out of the woodwork as having seen it. I'm still waiting to see whether Dr. Ali has discovered this website.
Didn't we say something about Carla not being really his aunt, and then it turns out she is?
Yeah, maybe. It doesn't matter.
It's really confusing. The whole Connor family tree is just a big shrub that should be burned. So, he's mad about the fact, and he's like, I'm not taking my videos down. I'm just happy for the extra subscriber, even if she's my mum. Anyway, Daisy finds Ryan in Victoria Gardens, and he's still defending himself, and she says, look, he says to her, "You should understand what with your Instagram history," and she tells him he's gorgeous in every way.
Yeah. So she's still kind of semi fancying him, and Daniel's not really doing anything that exciting at the moment. So
she's trying to encourage him that he doesn't need validation from people online because everyone else thinks,
he's just smashing.
And like, she said something eloquent, but you haven't written it down, and I've forgotten.
Sorry.
And then so Ryan says to Carla, "I'm moving out." So on Tuesday he's looking for a flat, and Lauren says, "Why don't you move in with me?"
That's a handy coincidence. I'm looking for a flatmate in the precinct, no less. Come and move in with me, Lauren. We haven't had any scenes together. This could turn out quite nicely.
Daisy comes in, and she's concerned to her that he's moving out, and he says, "No, I'm fine. Don't worry about it." So he goes back to Carla's flat and apologises, and tells her that she and Peter have been amazing, but he can't come back to live there. He's got to stand on his own 2 feet. She's really upset. She tears up. He leaves. Ryan goes to the flat with Lauren, and he thinks, "Yeah, it's a pretty good dump.
This'll do.
I can probably use this in my background, so sort of like a seedy kind of fashion kind of editorial spread look. Like you sort of get in Vogue where everyone looks like they're on drugs." Daniel comes back to see Daisy in the pub and apologise about yesterday. Why though? Because I thought they lived with each other. Anyway, she says, "It's fine, don't worry about it. I'm worried about Ryan moving into the precinct," and he says, "I'll go and chat with him and talk him out of it." But he doesn't. He helps him move in. And then some chavs have a go at him because Ryan and Daniel are walking along, and Daniel's like, "I'll help you with
There's
your
some
bag."
scary teenagers sitting on the precinct steps, aren't there?
Yeah, and they're like,
Make
"Rah,
fun of his face.
Oi, mate, your face is melted off." And he says, "No, it hasn't." He shouts at them, and Daniel's like, "Go away, you ruffians!" And they all run away. And
he knows how to talk to the hard guys now. He's been working at the SC? I've forgotten what it is.
He's like, "Listen up, fam, I'll give you a bare slaps to listen here." That, like...
Booyakasha.
That's my roadman speak. And they go, "My
He's
goodness."
not just been teaching, he's been learning while he's been there with the dregs of society.
"My goodness,
like
this man knows our lingo. Let's go forthwith." And they all run off.
Yeah.
And then he looks on the floor.
Yeah, because Ryan's thought he dropped his box, hasn't he?
Ryan's so shocked. And Daniel immediately just spots a load of...
He spots the vials of steroid.
Yeah, I don't know how he immediately knows what they are. Suspicious.
Well, they probably do a load of drugs education at the prison and all, don't
Why
they?
didn't Ryan just say, "Yeah, they're steroids for my skin"?
Yes. He's not as quick as Stephen at
would he
coming up
know?
with plausible stories, is he?
How on earth would Daniel know what the correct... Like, if somebody said to me, "Yeah, I have to inject steroids into my scar tissue," I'd say, "Well, yeah.
Sounds
I guess
plausible
that makes
to
sense."
me.
So, in the flat, Daniel confronts him and he says, "I didn't approve, and neither would your mum." I was like, I'm sick of hearing what my mum would approve of. So he's all settled in there, and there was a really great scene with Lauren, interested to hear about what she's like. You're this guy that's like, you do stripping online and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I won't do it when you're in the flat." And she says, "Well, as long as they're paying." And she sees these drug vials, but she doesn't say anything.
It must be quite a relief for Ryan to be able to live and converse with somebody who's not...
Judgmental.
Yeah, just being massively judgy about his new little business venture.
She's like, so you like, do you like sex stuff online, do you? Yep.
I wonder whether he will convince her to do it. I mean, Lauren needs money, doesn't she?
So you do drugs and whatever, then? Yep, I do, yep. So, like, what do you think about black people?
Oh my gosh, is she going to recruit Ryan into her racist gang?
She's not racist anymore.
Is the precinct going to be the new hub?
She's not racist, everybody. She never was. Don't question her. So later on, she's going through Ryan's fitness magazine. She's like, "Have you ever had a gay experience?" Which
I
love
love that.
She's
just
like,
I just assume that half the people you do these strippings or two online are men, and he's yeah, to be honest.
And then she's looking at these buff guys, and she says, "Well, I don't see the harm in steroids if they make you look like that." And he's like, "Yup." on Wednesday, Daniel tells Daisy he's thinking of asking Ryan to talk at the prison about the impact of violence on victims. He thinks he's ready. Now, this is funny because this comes off the back of Ryan being confronted by a bunch of naughty lads and like, what did he do? Rush at them and bark or something? He like went, whoa, didn't he? Like,
oh yeah.
Is that why Daniel's like, I'm gonna get him to scare the crap out of these kids. I'm just gonna get him to like growl at them all.
Was he going to ask Ryan to be the special guest around Halloween time and just burst out there with his Freddy Krueger face?
No, inappropriate.
Sorry.
Everything I've said is completely appropriate. He says, I reckon he could do it. And Daisy's like, I don't think so. But she's too busy with the Rovers stuff. So Daniel goes and asks Ryan about going to scare the kids with his face. I don't know. And he's not really sure about it. Then they have a chat in the Rovers, in the Bistro, and Daisy's surprised that they're having a meal together.
Yeah, what is it that I'm kind of losing track in it and definitely losing interest in parts of this. What's Daisy worried about Ryan and Daniel together? Is it that, I can't remember, has she confessed that she loves him?
Maybe
I don't
she's
remember.
worried about the gay experience.
I think that she tells...
Maybe she's worried
they have had a kiss, haven't they? They've had a sneaky kiss.
Maybe she thinks that Ryan and Daniel are going to run off together.
I don't know.
She's like, first gay wedding's on Monday. It's only a matter of time.
This story needs to come to a head. You know, it's been 6 months or so since the wedding and the acid attack, and I know that, you know, Ryan's got to live with this acid scars for the rest of his life and everything. But it feels like he's already had the whole of his life. But I don't know where it feels like it should be winding down. But now it's got a whole new lease of life with him moving in with Lauren. Daniel's just come back from the story after months of not having nothing to do with it. I'm just not really invested at the moment in it taking on another new angle, you know, after the crystal stuff, after the steroid stuff, and now we've got the Lauren.
But what makes this different, though? I mean, you're making it sound as though Coronation Street should just be a series of independent stories or vignettes that have an ending, whereas, you know, for example, people have been using this argument about Stephen's storyline.
I know.
You know, well, 1 minute, you know, now he's doing LSD, now he's drowning Rufus in a swimming pool, now he's poisoning, you know. What makes that? Is it just because
maybe
you don't like...
I don't not like the characters involved. That's the thing. You know? I think Daisy's great. I'm really pleased that Ryan's got a good story. Daniel I even do like.
This storyline's been a bit of a revelation for Ryan, as far as in the same way that Paul's story's been a revelation for that character as well, and also the actors involved both been given lots of lovely new things to do and prove how good they are, which is something that's always really nice to see. But I think it's the romance stuff that like, it feels like it's turned into will they, won't they? Yeah,
it's been, will they, won't they between Ryan and Daisy for a long time. But I think it's also the fact that it feels like they're trying to teach me things and raise my awareness of things. And it's like, what are they going to try and raise my awareness of this week in Ryan's story?
I don't know what they're trying to raise awareness of
Well, it's steroids and it's body image.
They're not trying to change anyone's minds here, I don't think, with this sex stuff, because the people who are sex positive, who think that this is, you know, acknowledge that it's not for everybody. So the fact that Ryan is finding it difficult, and he's also, you know, it kind of plays into the idea that it's because of people's reactions that it's can have a negative impact, rather than it being intrinsically harmful in some way to human psyches. Like that's not going to change anyone's mind, is it? On what's happening. And people that already don't think that it's a good idea, or maybe I don't know what you want to say, prudish. I mean, that's my kind of perspective. I think it's generally not a good idea. They're not going to watch this and go, well, I never thought, you know, it's playing into some stereotypes that are kind of...
Yeah.
Well, not stereotypes. I'm not really sure. Yeah, it's not teaching anybody anything new.
No.
This one. I mean, and also the steroid stuff. I feel like we've had steroids when we had the gym storyline, but I can't remember how much.
That was still a while ago.
Yeah, I know, but I don't remember how much of that was anyone was actually taking them.
No, it was a bit more of buying and selling.
I think Ryan's behaviour is going to escalate, and perhaps something's bad is going to happen at the prison.
We've got the whole rage thing, haven't we? Is he going to snap? Yeah. Is he going to
attack Lauren?
Yeah, maybe.
Because when he moved in with her and knowing all this stuff about how violent he's becoming and how out of control it can make you, I do worry about her because... And also, how would she react? The thing is, it doesn't make you abusive, does it? It's not that kind of reaction. It just makes you
lash out.
So it's not like they're gonna fall into some kind of weird quasi relationship where he's abusing her or anything, because she feels like the sort of person who would because she's had that background, it wouldn't feel unfamiliar to her. Like this relationship, she might accept his behaviour.
I wonder whether she might get involved in the O-vidz stuff now, because she's at a pretty low point at the moment, isn't she? She's been rejected by Max. She's like she wrecked up the salon. She's in a pretty rubbish place, and I can imagine maybe her going into that kind of line of work, and then Max finding out, going, oh, what have I pushed her into? But they did make a point this week about saying that she's 20, so she's not a kid. And that kind of was a bit of a shock to me. I kind of put her at the same age as Max.
I thought she was like 17 or something.
Yeah, I would have put her 16, 17. So she's older than you think. Too young to maybe have a relationship with Ryan. How old's he? 30 or so? 31, 32 maybe.
No, you're talking about turning this house into like a TikToker influencer house, but for sex videos.
Could be.
I can't see Coronation Street doing that.
I don't know. It feels like at some point there's going to be Daisy and Ryan take it further, or Daniel finds out about it. They have a big fight, and they've been teasing it for far too long, in my opinion.
My question is, what is gonna make Ryan stop doing these videos? Because this can't continue. It's not going to be like Ryan one day says,
it's my job now,
I'll stop showing my willy off, but I still love doing the videos.
Yeah.
At some point he's going to quit doing it.
And it's not the fact that everybody's found out about it, because that's happened now, and he's still pretty okay with it.
There's got to be something. Maybe it'll be the steroid stuff, and he'll say, I can't maintain my hot bod physique.
Yeah,
so there's
maybe.
no point doing it. Are you telling me there's no market for chubby dad bods on O-vidz? I don't believe it.
I wonder whether the steroids are going to make their way into the STC somehow via Daniel, because he knows about it and he's acting kind of cool about it. It's really unexpected reaction from Daniel as well. Like, yeah, I know about steroids. Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, he's
what do you mean?
That snitches get stitches in prison, so.
In prison?
Well, yeah,
he's a teacher though. He's not inside.
It's a mutually, they teach each other things.
He's basically the Michelle Pfeiffer of Waterford. Teaching these rough kids stuff. I've never seen the film, so I don't even know if that's
I wonder, we've got Super Soap Week in 2 weeks' time.
I've only seen the music video.
Super Soap Week in 2 weeks' time. Could this finally come to some kind of head there? I kind of hope so.
I think
I've had enough. And that's it.
I don't want to disparage the storyline, because there are elements that I'm really enjoying, but it does just feel a bit like I'm being shot with a bubble gun, and it's all a bit lacking in substance. And it's funny to start with, but now I'm just getting soap all over me, and I'm kind of bored of this bubble gun.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean, totally. And at the beginning of the year, we were saying more for Ryan, and it's not that's the problem. I think it's the many varied issues and tragedy, and there's not many characters involved in it. There's just a lot of scenes of him injecting himself in the bum and posing. It feels a bit repetitive. I don't know.
Maybe if there was a face to this person who's asking
the online person.
I just don't.
Should we move on? I think everything we've
okay.
It is an
right.
okay story. It's totally okay. Right, who is it doing the next story? I've lost track.
Because Spoiler alert, this is the next day.
We
Seamless.
have very seamlessly, at some point in the last 15 minutes, transitioned into the next day. Spot the point.
Still not back to normal, but I'm a lot better than I was yesterday.
Okay.
And hopefully, I'm really sorry. I know this is really unprofessional, but we've got to get this out. And I'm sorry if clearing my throat is very annoying to you. It's annoying to me. I don't know what the solution is. It's like to not do it at all.
That's not a solution, Gemma. That's just
Michael won't let me not do it.
No, you did this for your own volition. Right, my turn.
I'm just apologising because I know it's really frustrating, and I'm really, really sorry. I am struggling. I'm trying my best.
I will do the next story. This is the advance payment storyline. So on Tuesday, Asha is still massively peeved about Courtney hogging the bathroom. She's there all the time. She's preening herself. She's putting her smalls in the washing machine.
Box.
And is basically taken over the whole house, according to Asha. And Aadi's like, oh, well, she's going through a lot. She's split up for her husband. Come on, you've got to be lenient on her. Asha, minimal sympathy there. So in the cafe later, Courtney's urging Aadi to keep on searching for a flat for them. Aadi, yeah. She says, oh, come on, you don't want to be living with your dad all this time and just being old daddy's boy. And he's like, well, I'm a big boy now, actually, Courtney. I love you and I'm going to find you a flat. So she's really kind of pushing him, isn't he? And he can't get out of this. So, he goes off flat hunting. But, very fortunately, a flat just falls into their lap. Because you know that Shelley, dead Shelley, she's only got a flat in the precinct that's looking for a new owners. What are the chances of that?
I found this episode very strange because everyone was moving. Tuesday's episode,
it was like musical chairs on
like,
Tuesday, wasn't it?
Funerals and moving and... Yeah, it was a very transitional episode.
So Aadi brings up this idea of Shelley's flat to Courtney, and she's not particularly impressed with the idea of slumming out. I think she'd prefer a little bit higher class than dodgy.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon so. But they agreed to go and have a look at it.
I'm shocked she even went through the door.
I don't know.
Do you not think?
I think it depends. Yeah, it depends what you think that she's trying to get out of it. Really, like, is she just with Aadi as a bit of a stopgap? Does she actually think, I could be happy in this place? I'm not too sure at the moment. There's another scene later with Asha moaning on at Dev and Aadi about Courtney. That gets a bit repetitive as well. But then there's maybe supposed to be eliciting a little bit of sympathy for Courtney when she says, "Oh, my grandparents." Brought a bit.
What do you call it? Grampy and Wampy or something?
Grampy and Bampy and Blampy or something. Yeah, they brought me up. My parents were killed in a car crash. So
I lived in
a. I'm not completely convinced.
Because she also said last week that she was raised on microwave dinners and she didn't know what a dumpling was.
Yeah, grandparents love dumplings.
Are dumpling masters.
I didn't get the bit at the end of the scene where Asha. Courtney's gone upstairs again, and Asha says Courtney's basically just said she's with Aadi for revenge. I didn't get what she was referring to there. We did rewatch the scene again.
We watched that about 4 times to try to understand what on earth Asha could be talking about.
Asha's going to look for fault with Courtney wherever she sees it, but it felt like that kind of came out of nowhere. Reese writing and tell us if we missed something. Anyway, Aadi and Courtney go round to Shelley's old flat, and Aadi says, "Oh, we can't really afford this place," and Courtney says, "Oh well, we'll take it." So she's like, well, she
doesn't understand.
She doesn't understand not being able to afford something. I think she just kind of wants to stick it to Darren at the moment to say, look at me, I'm doing fine without you. Yeah. But if Darren could see the place that they'd moved into, he'd laugh his head off, wouldn't he?
He's not going to be intimidated by the buying power of a small child. He finds the whole
thing about their relationship kind of funny, I think. So Wednesday is when they tell everyone they're moving out. Aadi has to sell his Xbox, his first love, so that he can get money for the deposit. And Courtney says, "Well, you can flog my rings. That'll get us a bob or two, and then we'll maybe have a bit of leftover money to celebrate as well." So they go over to the bistro. And it's some geezer's birthday party there, isn't it? Some old bloke.
It's some guy that's a member of the friend group of them as a couple.
Darren's
but it's also
there too.
It's some kind of business thing too, because Dev and Bernie turn up as well. So it's obviously, I mean, they don't have what was it called, the Weatherfield Square Dealers?
No.
What was the latest version of that? Dev was in some kind of small business association. Feels very much like that kind of social group.
Maybe. Anyway, but
they get
Courtney's
croissants
all
for free.
over Aadi, making a big show of what a brilliant time she's having, all loved up with him for Darren's sake. You said at the time there we were watching, she wants to get back with Darren.
She's trying to make Darren jealous because she kept looking over at him to make sure that he was seeing.
Yeah, just what a lovely time they're having together. Darren is kind of just making a few digs about Aadi and says, Leanne, can you bring over some colouring paper and crayons for him? And Courtney responds by giving him a big old smooch, Aadi that is. She brings out the flat and Darren's like, what on earth, you silly cow, what are you moving in with him for? And Aadi's like, don't you call her a silly cow? And he kind of squares up to Darren, who just finds the whole thing laughable. Courtney's there going, they're fighting over me. She finds it all a little bit sexy, doesn't she? So as things end at the party, Bernie tells Courtney, I'm marking your card, madam. You clearly still have feelings for your ex. You're just doing this to get him jealous. And now Courtney's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, and leads Aadi out. This is when Darren comes over to Dev with a bit of a plan. He wants to go down the classic Coronation Street route of telling somebody to leave Weatherfield in exchange for a big old wad of cash. Well, here it's kind of like, Dev, I will give you £5,000 if you can convince Courtney to dump Aadi. And Dev looks like he's not really interested in the offer at first, I thought. But the next scene we see of him, he's there in number 7 flat on the sofa with Courtney saying, here's £5,000 in an envelope, love, off you pop. And Courtney, at this point, turns it round masterfully. And I've not been the biggest Courtney supporter up until this point, but I did really love how she takes it to...
This was like Courtney's best moment so far.
Yeah, I thought so. When she's like, hey, Aadi, your dad's given us £5,000. It's a gift. It's for us to set up home. And Aadi's like, oh, brilliant, Dad, this is so generous of you. How can you afford this? And Dev has got obviously nothing to say.
Oops.
He can't say anything at this point because he doesn't want Aadi to know that he's trying to get rid of his bird. So, left alone with Courtney later, Dev says, have you got no morals, woman? She just thinks this whole thing is hilarious. She knows it's Darren's money, and she loves the idea that her ex is now bankrolling her love nest with her young lover. And so that was all quite fun. Aadi bags up his stuff. Obviously, one bag, one box. That's his whole 20 years worth of life's, it's not savings, stuff. They go over to the flat. What happens then? I'm just looking at it. It's very slow towards the end of this. Dev has a word with Darren later and says, look, this is what's happened. She's taken the money. Sorry, she's with Aadi. There's nothing I could do about it. And he tells him, look, what you fiddling around?
Go on.
He's like, no, well, tough. Courtney's gonna split Aadi. Courtney's gonna chew him up, spit him out, split him up if you want what's best for your son. Plus, I want my $5,000 back. No, $5,000. I'm doing badly. I think I was doing better yesterday. How can you not
read it?
I can't. I'm just trying to put a spin on it. But it's not really working today. So, all right, what happens next is Aadi and Courtney.
You missed out the bit where when they get the money, Courtney's like, oh, we could go on holiday with this money.
Oh, yeah,
She wants to go to Nice.
Yes.
And
nice.
Again, she's just not used to the idea that there's a limited amount of money.
Maybe saving would be prudent in these circumstances.
She just wants the luxury, everything. And she's so obnoxious, isn't she? She's a very young woman. She claims to come from this kind of unprivileged background, but she spends money like she's never been hard up in her life.
Yeah, I know.
Like I can't imagine being as clueless as she is. She's such a div.
Is she clueless or is she just clever
She's not clever. What do you mean she's not clever? She keeps insisting that she's clever. It really it reminds me of these reality TV shows where we've seen quite a few of them recently, where they always have these women coming out with all the makeup all over their face, and they're like, you might think that I'm just beautiful, but I'm actually really smart too. And it's like, you're not though, are you? You're really not. You just think that you are because you can't conceive of how shallow and pathetic you are.
I can't figure out whether she loves or whether she
doesn't love anyone but herself. She just likes money.
But why did she give up her rings?
She didn't.
She did. I thought she sold her rings. So that
Where's the money then?
Well, no, this is all part of...
She hasn't sold her rings, Michael.
I mean, I thought the scene at the flat later where Aadi has a bit of a dance to the neighbours' music was quite fun.
They've had them sweet moments, and she clearly enjoys Aadi's company, but that's because he's flattering her and saying things like, "You're so smart and beautiful," which is exactly what she tells herself.
Yeah. Aadi goes back to number 7 at the end of the episode, and Dev's like, you're dating a scarlet woman, and Aadi realises that this money was actually an attempt to pay her off so that he could get rid of her, and he storms out. So secret's out. Aadi's mad at Dev.
What are we going to do now?
I don't know.
What?
It's just a joke. Where's this one going then? Is it?
It just feels like a very Darren's gonna win her back. I think Courtney's gonna be tricked into some kind of revelation of her baser instincts. She's gonna be given the choice of money or Aadi, and she's gonna pick money. And Darren's gonna say something like, "I don't even care whether she loves me or not. It's a matter of principle."
Yeah.
And everyone at home's going to be also thrilled and happy with the idea that even though they're rich, they're miserable. But they're not that miserable for going on holiday for five grand for a long weekend in Nice, are they? I'd be happy to be that miserable. Sign me up.
I want to see a scene where Aadi realises and stands up to Courtney himself. It feels like what's probably going to happen is Aadi's at the end of the story going to just be left feeling sorry for himself and what an idiot I've been. But I'd like him to be the one that throws her out at the end. It
would be a really nice character growth for Aadi to acknowledge he's been taken for a ride. I don't want his heart to get broken, but I feel it's inevitable.
I think that is definitely inevitable. It's all right because you get Amy waiting in the wings, haven't you? I can't see it's going to be too long between Courtney leaving and him hooking up with Amy Barlow, so don't feel too bad for him. Finally, we just had a bit of the Cassie storyline, didn't we? But that didn't particularly go very far. Do you want to quickly run down that one before we finish?
I do indeed, and here we go.
I knew you would.
On Tuesday, a cab firm owner, a lady one, she comes to the garage and she wants...
Let anyone do it these days.
I know. Quality's gone mad.
She was actually really nice. I like that character. Yes. She just seemed like quite...
she's supposed to be likeable, and she was. She wants an MOT, and she's like, "Oh, you don't very often see two women working in a garage together." And Cassie says, "Oh, well, she's been in prison and we're both drug addicts," and tries to make it awkward. And it doesn't really get that awkward. But later on, Kevin and Abby are talking, and Abby's not happy about the fact that Cassie blurted this out, and she thinks she's a liability. But when the woman comes back later and Abby tries to apologise for what Cassie had said, she says, "Don't worry about it. I work for a charity that rehabilitates female ex-cons, so yeah. I think it's great." Do you remember when we were watching it at the time? I said when Abby said that when Cassie said, "Oh, we're both drug addicts," I said to you, in Manchester, I bet you that nobody would care, and she'd be like, "Oh, it's all right. I work for a non-profit, blah blah blah," and it's like that's exactly what it ended up being.
Yeah, so it basically just all's well that ends well with this, wasn't it? And they've got her custom, and she's gonna get her fleet.
I don't know whether there's going to be more to this.
Possibly.
But
it feels like we haven't seen the last of her.
She's happy that she's given these people business because it aligns with her personal philosophy.
Yes.
So Tyrone, Kevin and Abby sit down later and have a cup of tea, and they're thinking maybe Cassie's not too bad. I think that was just a flick. I don't think she should be rewarded for blurting out that they're drug addicts. I think perhaps we should think more carefully about what we say to people when we meet them, Cassie. On Wednesday, Cassie's taking the girls to the bus stop again, and they're all moaning about this car that Tyrone's doesn't have because Hope's made a Jeff Koons dog sculpture, incredibly large one, and they've got to take it on the bus. Evelyn comes in to find Cassie, and she's not there.
To the garage, yeah.
Sorry, yes, and you didn't write that down. And she can't believe
you watched it.
They get a phone call from the police, and it's about the car.
Yeah, they think that it's going to be a phone call saying that Cassie has been up to no good. but they just talk about the car and the insurance. I don't know what it was.
Well, this is all a bit weird. It all kind of peters out into a load of bitty nonsense because Cassie's not in trouble. Kevin tells Tyrone that Cassie should take the day off because he's got to meet this new client, and Tyrone's upset he doesn't trust her. So we've got this car situation going on because I don't know if they found the car or not. He didn't write it down. I can't remember.
I don't know whether they did. I wasn't really paying attention.
I still have this theory that Cassie's involved in the car going missing. But when originally it went missing, I thought it was just a random car from the garage.
Yeah, you did, but I thought it was Tyrone's car. What I read today, somebody saying online somewhere, is Tyrone's car goes missing in the same episode that Eliza got knocked down. So I'm wondering, because does anybody know what Tyrone's car looks like? I don't know. Was that Tyrone's car? Has somebody pinched his car? Did Cassie pinch Tyrone's car, then hit Eliza with it, and then, go on the run? So that wouldn't surprise me if that is a future development.
I absolutely love the way that Eliza's such a boring character that nobody cares she was knocked over. There's no manhunt.
Nobody cares about her anymore, don't they?
Nobody even considered the fact that this might be a criminal. And, Stu didn't write down the license plate or report it to the police or anything. There's not a manhunt out for a deranged criminal who's running down young girls in the precinct.
No.
Everyone was like, well, it's Eliza, she's just in the way. She's so bland, you probably didn't even see her.
I'm sure there'll be more to that to come next week, but that was about it, wasn't it? I did like the bit where Evelyn was spelling out, was it number plates, I think, on the over the car. I suppose that's the way that you find out, isn't it? Whichever number plate Evelyn gave for the car, go back to the episode where Eliza got hit and see if they match. Maybe we should do that. Somebody can do that for us. I
just don't think it's going to be that way.
Well, I don't know.
That'd be too exciting.
They need to do more to get me excited with this because we've been really bigging up the Cassie story over the past few months, but they're just taking it slow at the moment. That's about it. How did you find this week's Corrie, Gemma?
I quite enjoyed it actually. I thought there was a lot to like. The Rovers drama. Maybe it's a bit toothless. It's like being gummed by a chihuahua rather than mauled by a Rottweiler. But it definitely is exciting because I don't think there's any peril here. Even if it's like protracted, how long we go without the Rovers or the Rovers team, Coronation Street really would be dumb to get rid of this group that they've assembled.
Yeah,
it's like watching the end of the Avengers, where they're like, oh, the adventure's over. Now they've got to go their separate ways. What will we do now? Don't worry, there's another film out next year with exactly the same characters.
Because the other characters, like, I don't know what any of them would go on to do. Like, Glenda seems like she was born to work behind a bar. Daisy, I don't know, I can't imagine her doing anything else at the moment. Jenny seems like it's perfectly at home there. So yeah, I think they'll be back, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought that the funeral was very touching, and there was some lovely Billy and Paul scenes after that. It's just maybe the other stories that didn't grab me quite so much. There
were some really sweet moments in the Aadi and Courtney storyline. I liked a bit of deviousness and a flash of inspiration from Courtney taking that money. I don't think she's supposed to be likeable.
No, absolutely not.
And I enjoyed this week. I think I'm gonna give it a 4.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, because I thought a lot to like. I'm gonna give it 4 countries to disappear in. So you got your choice there.
Do you want to name those countries?
I'm gonna say places that aren't even countries. So probably the Vatican.
Yeah.
That's a country, right?
I think so.
Venezuela.
Andorra.
Yes, and I'm going to say...
gotta have Thailand in there somewhere.
Madagascar. Is that a country or just an island?
Okay, you got a character of the week for us this week?
Ooh.
I'm kind of thinking character of the week wise, Glenda's a strong contender. As somebody who was just a side character, she really, hit every line that she was given. She had some great one-liners.
She's majestic, isn't she?
Yeah, but then Jenny's obviously a strong contender as well. She did her best to stand up for Waterford, and I did like that scene in the hotel where...
Stand up to them, yeah.
Yeah, yes, to Waterford, sorry. I'm tempted to... I think I'm going to go Glenda this week. I'm going to score my old favourite score that I just can't seem to get away from at the moment, which is 3.5 kinky bedroom harnesses out of 5.
Oh yeah, that's what Courtney found in poor Shelley's
Yeah.
Poor dead Shelley left that behind, and she thought it was a sex thing.
Yeah, I was close to voting it in super sperms as well, because there was a bit of sperm talk in this week's episode with Aadi's them talking about Aadi's sperm at the breakfast table.
Oh my god!
But yeah, I'll give it 3.5 and Glenda, but there are a few other contenders. Definitely shout out to Jenny.
I think I'm going to give it to Paul, character of the week, because
He did have some good character growth.
Spiritual epiphany was really touching.
Yeah, that's true. He was pretty good with that. I've made my bed, I'm going to lie in it. I'm going with Glenda. Okay, one more week left of 3 episodes, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we're back to the normal schedule for Super Soap Week. That's it for this week's Street Talk.